At 31, pregnant and seemingly settled, my life appeared perfect to any outsider. But beneath this veneer, a starkly different reality lurked. Derek, my husband, was a master of public charm. At 38, he was the sort who drew eyes in any gathering. His laugh was infectious, his stories captivating. To the world, we were the idyllic couple, eagerly awaiting our first child. Yet behind the closed doors of our home, Derek's true colors bled through. The affection and warmth he once showered on me had turned into something colder, harsher. His words, once filled with love, now often cut deep. I had become adept at navigating his moods, a silent dance of walking on eggshells. I often found myself reminiscing about our early days, filled with joy and promise. Derek was rock, my confidant, but marriage seemed to unravel him, revealing a controlling and often cruel man. I told myself it was the stress of his job, but deep down, I knew these were mere excuses. The sound of a key in the lock jolted me back to reality. My heart skipped a beat. Derek was home early. Standing up quickly, I adjusted my maternity dress and tried to muster a smile. "Morning, love," Derek greeted, hanging up his coat. His voice was light, but his eyes, cold and scrutinizing, quickly scanned the room. "Good morning," I replied, my voice strained. "I wasn't expecting you so soon." He shrugged nonchalantly and headed for the fridge. "Needed a break from the office. How's the little one doing?" His hand rested on my belly, a gesture that once brought joy, now only discomfort. "He's doing fine," I managed to say. "Good," he said, his gaze lingering on me. "You look tired, Clara. You should rest more." I nodded silently, knowing better than to argue. Lunch passed in an uncomfortable silence. Derek was distant, lost in his own world, while I struggled with my meal. The tension between us was like a third unwelcome guest at the table. Post-lunch, Derek disappeared into his study, leaving me alone with my thoughts. My eyes landed on a family photo on the wall, a painful reminder of the facade we upheld. I felt trapped, a prisoner in my own home. I knew I needed to talk to someone, but who would believe the dark side of Derek, the perfect husband, the successful businessman? I felt utterly alone. As the day wore on, a resolve began to form within me. I couldn't continue living this lie, not for myself and definitely not for my unborn child. I had to find a way out, to expose Derek for who he really was. It was a daunting task, but for the sake of my child, I was ready to do whatever it took. That night, as I lay beside him, I silently vowed to myself I would find the courage to leave, to give my child a life free from this shadow. I needed a plan, a way to reveal Derek's true nature. It was a challenging path, but for my child, I was willing to walk it. I woke up to another day under the same roof as Derek, feeling the weight of my unborn child and the heavier burden of my secret turmoil. The morning was routine. Derek left for work with a peck on the cheek, a gesture so hollow it stung. As the door closed behind him, I allowed myself a moment to breathe, to feel the freedom his absence brought. But this respite was short-lived. Today, I had decided, was the day I would begin to document Derek's true nature. It was risky, but necessary. I needed evidence, something tangible to show the world the man he really was. That evening, as Derek returned, I braced myself. His mood was a barometer for the evening ahead. He came in, his face like a thundercloud. "Evening," I greeted him cautiously. He grunted in response, tossing his keys on the table. "What's for dinner?" I had prepared his favorite, roast chicken with vegetables. I hoped it might lighten his mood. "Roast chicken. It's almost ready." He eyed the kitchen suspiciously, as if expecting a flaw. "Make sure it's not dry this time." I nodded, feeling a knot in my stomach. At dinner, Derek picked at his food, his frown deepening with every bite. "This is bland," he muttered, pushing his plate away. "Can't you do anything right?" I clenched my fists under the table, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "I'm sorry, Derek. I'll try to do better." "You always say that, but I see no improvement." His voice was laced with contempt. I wanted to scream, to tell him how his words crushed me, but I held back. Instead, I quietly cleared the table, feeling his eyes bore into me. Later that night, in the privacy of my room, I took out my phone and began to write everything down. Every harsh word, every dismissive gesture. It felt like opening a floodgate, the words pouring out of me. This diary would be my weapon, a testament to the truth. The next few days were a blur of tension and silent suffering. Derek's mood swung wildly, and I tiptoed around him, capturing every incident in my phone. His disdainful comments, his careless disregard for my well-being. I recorded it all. One evening, as we sat watching TV, Derek suddenly turned to me. "Why are you so quiet these days? You used to be more lively." I met his gaze, my heart pounding. "Just tired, I guess," he scoffed. "You're always tired. What do you even do all day?" His words were like a slap in the face, but I swallowed the hurt. "Taking care of the house and preparing for the baby," I said quietly. Derek laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Taking care of the house? Look at this place. You're barely managing." I felt a tear escape my eye, but I quickly wiped it away. This was the Derek that the world needed to see, the one hidden behind closed doors, and I was going to expose him. Each day blurred into the next, a monotonous cycle of dread and resilience. Derek's behavior worsened, his mask slipping more frequently. I continued to document every cruel word, every cold gesture, building my case against him in secret. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Thursday, mundane in every way, until Derek stormed home early from work, his face twisted in fury. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "The incompetence at work is driving me insane," he yelled, slamming his briefcase on the table. "Can't anyone do their job right?" I stepped back, feeling the walls of the room closing in. "Derek, please, you're scaring me." "Scaring you?" He scoffed. "I'm not even doing anything yet." His words sent a chill down my spine. I knew I had to be careful, to not provoke him further. But it was like walking through a minefield, blindfolded. As I tried to calm him, suggesting he relax and take a break, Derek's rage only grew. He began to hurl insults, each word a dagger aimed at my heart. I retreated to the kitchen, hoping to put some distance between us, but he followed, his anger a palpable force. "You're useless, Clara. Can't cook, can't clean. What good are you?" I stood there, my back against the counter, feeling trapped. My hand found a pair of scissors lying there, a mundane household tool, yet in that moment a lifeline. As Derek advanced, I held the scissors up defensively. "Stay back, Derek, please." The look in his eyes changed then, a flicker of surprise, maybe even fear. He stopped, his rage replaced by something else. Realization, perhaps. He knew he had gone too far. "What are you going to do, Clara? Stab me?" His voice was a venomous hiss. "No," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "but I won't let you hurt me." We stood there in a standoff, the tension thick in the air. Then Derek laughed, a cold, mocking sound. "You're pathetic," he said, turning away. "Don't think this changes anything." But it had changed something. It had shown me the depth of his cruelty and my own strength. I knew then that I had to act, to bring his true nature to light. That night, after Derek had gone to bed, I sent an email to his boss, attaching excerpts from my diary. I detailed the abuse, the fear, the reality of living with Derek. It was a risk, exposing him like this, but I had reached my breaking point. The next morning, Derek left for work as usual, unaware of the storm that was brewing. I waited, my heart pounding, for the inevitable fallout. It came in the form of a phone call from Derek's boss. He was shocked, apologetic. He had no idea, he said. He promised to handle the situation. Later that day, Derek came home, his expression one of defeat. He had been suspended from work, pending an investigation. The mask he wore so well had slipped, revealing the monster beneath to the world. As I looked at him, I felt a mix of emotions, fear, relief, a sense of justice. This was just the beginning, I knew. There would be more battles to fight, more truths to uncover. But for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. "I know what you did, Clara," Derek said, his voice low. "Yes," I replied, meeting his gaze, "and I'd do it again." The aftermath of my email was like a storm breaking. Derek was a shadow of his former self, his arrogance replaced by a sullen, brooding demeanor. But I knew better than to let my guard down. In the silence of our home, his resentment simmered like a cauldron on the verge of boiling over. Uncle Jack, my late father's brother and the only family I had left, was the first person I reached out to. He had always been a pillar of strength, and I knew I could trust him with the truth. "Clara, I always suspected something was off," Uncle Jack said over the phone, his voice heavy with concern. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" His words were kind, but they stung. I had been too ashamed, too afraid of not being believed. But now I needed him. "I need your help, Uncle Jack. I can't do this alone." "We'll get you out of this, Clara. You're not alone anymore," he assured me, and I felt a glimmer of hope. In the following days, I focused on my plan. I continued to document Derek's behavior. each entry more damning than the last. I also started reaching out to a few close friends, testing the waters, gauging their reactions. Some were skeptical, but most were supportive, shocked by the revelation. One evening, as Derek and I sat in an oppressive silence, he finally spoke. "You've ruined my career, Clara. How could you?" His words were icy, but I detected a hint of desperation beneath them. "I didn't ruin anything, Derek. You did that all by yourself," I replied calmly. He glared at me, his hands clenched into fists. "You think you're smart, don't you? Exposing me, turning everyone against me." I met his gaze steadily. "I'm not turning anyone against you. I'm just revealing the truth." Derek laughed bitterly. "And what about you, Clara? Aren't you afraid of what people will say? The perfect wife, not so perfect after all." I felt a surge of anger, but kept my voice even. "I don't care what people say. I won't be a victim anymore." The days that followed were a tense cat-and-mouse game. Derek's moods were unpredictable, and I found myself constantly on edge, but I was determined to see my plan through. Uncle Jack was a constant support, calling daily, offering advice and encouragement. He also started gathering legal resources, preparing for the inevitable divorce proceedings. I knew the hardest part was still to come. Exposing Derek at his workplace was one thing, but the public humiliation and legal battles that lay ahead would be a true test of my resolve. But I was ready. For my sake, and for the sake of my unborn child, I was ready to fight. As I lay in bed each night, I thought about the future. A life free from Derek's shadow, a fresh start for me and my child. It was a future worth fighting for, and I was determined to make it a reality. The days leading up to the confrontation felt like a countdown to Judgment Day. Each passing hour was laced with a mix of dread and determination. Derek, now aware of his precarious situation, oscillated between sullen silence and fits of rage. Uncle Jack had been instrumental in orchestrating the next phase of my plan. He had discreetly contacted some influential people, laying the groundwork for what was to come. "We need to be strategic, Clara," he had advised. "We strike hard and fast, leaving no room for Derek to manipulate the situation." The day of reckoning arrived unceremoniously. Derek left for work, his expression grim. I knew today would be the day he would face the consequences of his actions. I spent the morning in a restless state, my mind racing with possible scenarios. Then the phone call came. It was Uncle Jack, his voice tense but determined. "It's happening, Clara. Derek's being confronted at work. They're going to suspend him pending a full investigation." A wave of relief and apprehension washed over me. "What about the evidence?" "We've got it covered. Everything you documented, the testimonies from his colleagues who witnessed his outbursts, it's all been presented." I hung up the phone, my hands trembling. This was it, the beginning of the end for Derek's reign of terror. Hours later, Derek returned home. The door slammed shut with a force that made me jump. His face was a mask of fury, his eyes burning with unspoken threats. "You," he spat, pointing a finger at me. "You've destroyed me, Clara." I stood my ground, despite the fear coursing through me. "No, Derek, you did this to yourself." He advanced towards me, but I didn't flinch. "You think you've won, don't you? You think you can just ruin my life and walk away?" "It's not about winning, Derek. It's about the truth. About not letting you hurt me or anyone else anymore." He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You're nothing without me, Clara. You'll see. You'll come crawling back." But I knew I wouldn't. I had seen the depth of his cruelty, and I was done being his victim. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal meetings and preparations. Uncle Jack was by my side, guiding me through the process. The divorce proceedings were set in motion, and with each passing day I felt a little more of my old self return. The final hearing was a catharsis. As I stood before the judge, recounting the years of abuse, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Derek sat there, his usual confident demeanor shattered, unable to refute the mountain of evidence against him. When the judge granted the divorce, ruling in my favor, I allowed myself a small smile. It wasn't a victory, but it was justice. Derek had lost his job, his reputation, and now his marriage. The fall of his tyranny was complete. As I walked out of the courtroom, a free woman, I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. I had stood up to Derek, exposed him for who he truly was, and I had survived. I was ready to start anew, to build a better life for myself and my child, a life free from fear, free from Derek. The seeds of retribution had been sown, and they had borne fruit. The courtroom doors closed behind me, sealing away a chapter of my life that had been marked by fear and subjugation. As I stepped into the sunlight, I felt its warmth as a symbol of the new beginning that lay ahead. Uncle Jack, ever my steadfast supporter, was waiting for me outside. "You did it, Clara," he said, his eyes glistening with unspoken pride. "I did," I replied, the reality of my newfound freedom slowly sinking in. "But I couldn't have done it without you." "We're family," he said, wrapping me in a comforting embrace. "Now let's focus on the future." The days that followed were a blend of relief and rebuilding. The divorce had granted me a significant portion of our shared assets, and Derek was ordered to pay alimony. It was more than just financial security. It was a means to start anew, to provide for my child without the shadow of Derek looming over us. I found a small, cozy apartment in a friendly neighborhood. It was the perfect place to turn into a home, a sanctuary for me and my baby. As I set up the nursery, I felt a surge of excitement, a joy that had been absent for far too long. Uncle Jack was a frequent visitor, helping with the preparations and sharing in my newfound happiness. "You're going to be a great mother," he would say, and I started to believe it. One evening, as I was unpacking a box of books, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Derek. My heart skipped a beat as I read his words. "You'll regret this. You've not seen the last of me." I stared at the screen, feeling a surge of anger mixed with a pang of fear. But then something within me shifted. I was no longer the scared, submissive woman Derek had known. I was stronger now, emboldened by my struggles and triumphs. I typed a reply, my fingers steady. "You no longer have any power over me, Derek. It's over." Sending the message felt like shedding the last remnant of my old life. Derek had lost his grip on me, and I knew that any threats he made were the last gasps of a defeated man. The next few months passed in a blur of anticipation and preparation. The community around me was supportive, and I made new friends, fellow mothers who shared in my excitement and offered their wisdom. Then the day arrived. The birth of my child, a beautiful baby girl, was the culmination of all my hopes and dreams. Holding her in my arms, I felt an overwhelming sense of love and protection. As I looked into her eyes, I made a silent promise. I would give her the life she deserved, full of love, happiness, and freedom. A life so starkly different from the one I had endured. In the end, the dawn of liberation was not just about freeing myself from Derek. It was about breaking the cycle, about building a future where my daughter could thrive, unburdened by the shadows of the past. And in that future, I saw not just survival, but the promise of joy and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Life with my daughter, Lily, brought a sense of fulfillment I had never known. Each day with her was a gift, a reminder of the new path I had forged for us. She was my little beacon of hope, her laughter and bright eyes a constant source of joy. Uncle Jack was a regular presence in our lives, doting on Lily as if she were his own granddaughter. "She's going to grow up strong, just like her mother," he would say with a twinkle in his eye. As for Derek, he became a distant memory, a dark chapter in my life that had been firmly closed. The last I heard, he had moved away, his reputation tarnished beyond repair. The community that once admired him now knew the truth, and he had lost the respect he so dearly valued. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I would reflect on my journey. The pain and suffering I had endured at Derek's hands had been a crucible, forging me into a stronger, more resilient woman. I had faced my fears, stood up to my oppressor, and come out victorious. But my story was more than just a tale of survival. It was a testament to the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit. It was a message to anyone suffering in silence, afraid and alone, that change was possible, that they too could break free and reclaim their lives. One evening, as I put Lily to bed, I looked down at her peaceful face and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I had fought for this, for her right to grow up in a world free of fear and full of love. As I left her room, the soft glow of the nightlight casting a gentle aura around her, I paused at the doorway. The future was unwritten, a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of our lives. There would be challenges, no doubt, but I was ready to face them head-on. With Lily by my side and the support of Uncle Jack and my new friends, I felt unstoppable. The scars of the past would always be a part of me, but they no longer defined me. I was Clara, a survivor, a mother, a woman reborn. As I sat down in the living room, a sense of peace settled over me. The struggles I had faced had led me to this moment, to a life filled with promise and possibility. Tomorrow was a new day, and it was ours to embrace. And in that promise of tomorrow I found not just an end, but a beautiful beginning.
I had an idea about how sad and unlucky my sister is. I came up with the perfect plan. What kind of plan? Just watch and see. Mary put on a fancy dress, like one you'd wear to a wedding. She went to the microphone. When she got it, she turned to the guests and said confidently, "Does anyone want to marry my sister? She's not very smart and she's getting old, right?" After she said this, Mary looked at her sister with a mean smile. But she didn't realize how rude she was being. The mood in the room changed quickly. People started whispering, and some guests gave Mary angry looks. Mary didn't notice and grabbed the microphone again. "Come on, sister, you need to make yourself more appealing. There are lots of handsome doctors here. You really don't understand what you've done, do you?" Then something major and unexpected happened. "My name is Amy Schumer. I'm a 31-year-old woman with a regular job. There's nothing special about me except one thing. After middle school, I studied hard and became a lawyer. I have a sister named Mary who is 3 years younger than me. She's very charming and friendly, so our family always treated her specially. I'm not very noticeable, just plain and average. I'm not very charming, so my family and relatives didn't care about me much. I rarely felt any love and was often treated coldly at home. I couldn't compete with Mary's natural charm, and she got all of our parents' love. All I got were harsh looks. I worked very hard and got good grades, hoping to get some attention from my family. But I could never outshine Mary. Eventually, I got tired of trying to win my family's love and decided to focus on something else. I gave up on being loved and put all my energy into studying. I promised myself that I would find my worth through my knowledge. Studying hard gave me confidence, and my efforts led to good results. I hoped that my success in school would one day earn me some praise from my parents, holding on to this faint hope. I stayed up late every night studying throughout middle school. I was always at the top of my class and did better than other students in every test. But even then, my parents never praised me. Instead, they often criticized my grades. It's not just about being at the top. You need to get nearly perfect scores in every subject. Yes, even if you score 98% in science, it's not perfect. But this recent exam was really difficult. I would try to explain, but they called them excuses again. "Your lack of effort is why you get such results," my mother would say sharply. Her voice was as cold as ice. "Are you proud of those less than perfect grades?" All I could do was apologize. "Yes, I'm sorry," I murmured softly. No matter how much time and effort I put in, my results never matched my parents' idea of perfect. They never acknowledged my efforts. Any score less than 101% was just a reason for them to scold me. But more than my parents' coldness, my sister Mary's seemingly innocent words hurt more. "Oh, sister, are you getting lectured again?" She would come into my room without permission and smirk at my report card. "Good grades and still scolded? That's sad. I'd get praised for barely passing." "Did you come here just to say that?" I asked, feeling frustrated. "I was worried about you. Maybe you were feeling down again," Mary said, pretending to be concerned. But I didn't expect such a cold reception. "If you were really worried, you wouldn't talk to me like that," I replied, trying to stay calm. "See, that's your problem. You're always like this, so standoffish. That's why Mom and Dad don't show you love," Mary said, her gaze cold as ice. She looked down on me with clear contempt. For a brief moment, her attitude was obvious, even as she left the room. After she was gone, I could hear her cheerful laughter with our parents from the living room. I should have been used to it by now, but the sadness overwhelmed me, and tears streamed down my cheeks. I had told myself many times that I didn't need my parents' approval, and that Mary's words wouldn't affect me. Yet my emotions betrayed me, and I cried. In my hand was the crumpled report card, wrinkled from my tight grip. Once again, I resolved to stand on my own and break free from this suffocating family environment. I knew that excelling in my studies and improving my skills was my way out. From that moment on, I threw myself into my studies with even more determination. One day, as a cool breeze swept through the classroom windows, my father made an unexpected announcement. "Amy, you won't be going to high school. You need to start looking for a job immediately," he said coldly. I was speechless, unable to hide my confusion. "Why would you say something like that?" I asked, my face blank with shock. "Further investing in you is unnecessary. If you want to go to high school, you'll have to pay for it with your own money. If that's not possible, then you'll have to give up. my father said coldly, dismissing my protests. But I'm still in middle school. There aren't many jobs available for someone my age. How am I supposed to? My words trailed off as my father ignored me. You need to accept this. After discussing it with your mother, we've decided to focus our finances on Mary. We can't afford to spend more on you, he declared firmly. That's not fair, I thought bitterly, but my father's decision was final. His words hit me like a sudden storm, draining all color from the world around me. My mother and sister looked on with undisguised smiles, seemingly enjoying my despair. I understand better now. There were options like finding schools with tuition waivers or scholarships. But back then, without knowing how to access that information, I was devastated by the end of my educational path. Since that day, my love for learning quickly faded. Even the praise from my homeroom teacher, who always admired my grades, felt empty. The lack of support for education at home made my chances of going to college seem even more hopeless. Right after graduation, I started working at a local factory since I wasn't old enough to live on my own yet. I stayed with my family until I turned 19, working hard and contributing most of my salary to the household. I saved whatever little money I could for myself, enduring those tough days that felt like crawling through an endless tunnel. On my 19th birthday, I left home. I left a letter for my family and walked away from the place that now only held memories. Their reaction was as if I had never existed, complete silence, no phone calls or letters. Initially, living apart from my family was painful and loneliness shadowed my days. But with time, work kept me busy, easing the loneliness. Moving out and starting my own life relieved the stress I felt at home, bringing a mental clarity I hadn't known before. This newfound peace of mind revived my enthusiasm. I reignited my passion for learning and decided to start studying again from the basics, reviewing diligently. The joy of learning filled my heart once more. I moved on to high school textbooks and immersed myself in extensive reading. Along the way, I became captivated by books on law, sparking a deep interest in the legal profession. Despite only having a junior high education, I discovered the preliminary examination system that allowed me to pursue the bar exam. Armed with this knowledge, I intensified my dedication to studying, using every spare moment, even during short breaks at work. I memorized legal terms during lunch breaks, always preparing for the bar exam. My colleagues, who were mostly older than me, noticed my sincere efforts and supported me. At the age of 24, I successfully passed the bar exam. With this achievement, I left my long-term job at the factory and secured a position at a prestigious law firm. After 5 years of training, I ventured out on my own and established my own law practice. Now I happily serve as a legal consultant for a hospital. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I told my parents about becoming a lawyer. I think about their possible reactions and if I could finally meet their expectations. Yet deep down, I doubt I'll ever reach out to them. Unexpectedly, a reunion with my family came sooner than expected. One evening after work, I found a message on my phone from my younger sister, Mary. She was getting married. Mary is getting married, I whispered to myself. My 29-year-old sister was engaged to a doctor, and their wedding was scheduled for next month. They wanted me to be there. Despite the long estrangement from Mary and my parents, I couldn't ignore such a significant event, so I replied that I would attend. Mary quickly responded with the date and location of the ceremony. Her message ended with, "Don't forget the wedding gift," which made me smile wryly. It seemed Mary was more focused on the gift than on welcoming me. I arrived at Mary's wedding hoping to reconnect with my family, if only briefly. I wore a carefully chosen blue dress and went through the entrance formalities before taking my seat in the family area, where my father and mother were already seated. "You have some nerve showing up here. You must be doing well for yourself with your paltry earnings from the factory," my father said coldly. "Indeed, it's embarrassing to have someone like her as family," my mother added with disdain. "Mary shouldn't have invited someone like you," my father continued. "I told them the same, but they insisted on taking the celebration money anyway," my mother said quietly. They had this conversation as if I wasn't even there. This was the harsh reality I faced. I had hoped that sharing my side might bridge the gap between us, but that hope was quickly shattered. Both my father and mother seemed determined to avoid speaking to me at all. In the quiet of the venue, I looked around and spotted some familiar faces among the groom's side. Haven't I seen that person somewhere before? I wondered to myself, sensing a hint of déjà vu. As I tried to recall where I knew them from, I looked up the groom's name, and my suspicion turned into certainty. The connection I had suspected was now clear. I couldn't help but feel a faint surprise. It was such a coincidence, almost like fate unfolding. Despite this revelation, I decided to keep my emotions in check and quietly observe the day unfold. The ceremony proceeded beautifully, with the bride and groom making a grand entrance. Guests shared warm words and entertained, lightening the atmosphere. As time passed, the event shifted to dinner and then to photo sessions. Throughout it all, my parents got up without acknowledging me and moved toward the front where the bride and groom were waiting. Mary, drawn to them like a magnet, beamed happily in every photograph. Trying not to let the sight affect me, I quietly focused on the meal in front of me. Out of nowhere, my sister Mary came up to me. She approached with a smile, but her eyes held more than just happiness to see me after so many years. "Hey big sis, it's been ages, hasn't it? Are you glad we're spending time together like this?" she asked. I nodded quietly and replied, "Yes, the food at the party is really good." Mary smiled sarcastically, saying, "You don't get fancy food like this at the factory where you work, do you? You should appreciate being here." Her words stung deep inside, but I didn't let it show on my face. Mary's tone grew sharper, almost mocking. "Ah, did I hurt your feelings? I'm sorry, but isn't it natural for you to feel a bit jealous? After all, your little sister marrying a doctor and all," Mary said casually, as if the apology meant nothing. I kept my expression unchanged and quietly waited to see what she would do next. Then Mary whispered in my ear, "Big sis, because I pity you, I've come up with a great idea." Trying to remain calm, I asked suspiciously, "What idea?" Mary, looking pleased with herself, replied, "Just wait and see." In her beautiful wedding gown, Mary captured everyone's attention. She grabbed a microphone from a staff member and suddenly announced to the guests, "Ladies and gentlemen, some of you may not know my sister is here. She might not have the highest education or be the youngest, but if anyone is kind enough, could you please mentor her?" I felt my face flush with embarrassment. "What are you doing, Mary?" I exclaimed. Mary continued even louder, "Even though she doesn't make much money and lives a simple life, is there someone here who can help improve my sister's future?" All eyes were on me as Mary enjoyed my discomfort with a smug smile. Then, unexpectedly, our usually gentle parents joined in. "Please be kind to her," they added. I couldn't take it anymore. Anger boiled inside me. To be mocked like this at a joyful event, how far would they go? It was unbelievable, but now they would face the consequences. As the mood in the room shifted and whispers spread, Mary, oblivious to being the center of attention, cheerfully called out, "Amy, look, there are so many doctors here. This could be your chance." I remained silent, but my resolute stare spoke volumes. "Your games end here," I said firmly. Confused, Mary replied, "Huh." I responded calmly, "You'll soon realize the gravity of what you've done." Just as Mary began to offer an excuse, the groom suddenly spoke up, "Please wait. Why is everyone getting up from their seats?" The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at the groom. His co-workers from the hospital were standing up, starting to leave. Despite his efforts to stop them, a dignified man who seemed to be the hospital director approached him with resolve. The recent comments made by the bride were so offensive that I'm shocked. "I apologize, but we can't stay here any longer. We're leaving," the hospital director stated firmly. The groom rushed to intervene, taking responsibility for Mary's words and actions. "Please wait. I acknowledge her words were out of line. I'll speak with her directly and make sure she understands." However, the hospital director underscored the seriousness of the situation and revealed something the groom wasn't aware of. "It's not just that. Do you not know who her sister is?" Confused, the groom admitted, "No, I only met her sister today. I heard she worked in a factory after middle school." Clearly irritated, the hospital director responded, "That's absurd. Her sister is a respected lawyer and serves as our hospital's legal advisor." The groom was taken aback by this revelation. He had no idea I held such a significant role. Mary and my parents were stunned as well. Unbeknownst to them, I was the legal advisor at the hospital where Mary's fiancé worked. Having seen him at hospital events before, the guests might have recognized me too. Mary's inappropriate remarks had exacerbated the situation, leaving the hospital director deeply offended. Although the groom had no personal connection to me, the hospital staff highly valued their legal advisor. The groom's face flushed red as he approached Mary, his voice rising. "What is going on? Your thoughtless words have damaged my reputation." Mary stuttered, trying to defend herself like a confused child. "I didn't mean it like that. I honestly didn't know my sister had such an important job." Furious, the groom continued to admonish Mary. "Not knowing is no excuse. How could you speak so disrespectfully about your own sister? Your behavior is unacceptable. You've lost sight of what really matters." Mary, desperate to explain herself, pleaded, "Wait, please listen. There's a reason for all of this." But the groom, not willing to hear any more excuses, declared firmly, "The engagement is over. I don't want to hear your explanations. This is where our relationship ends." Shocked by his words, Mary collapsed where she stood, her face drained of color. In a burst of anger, the groom stormed out of the wedding hall, followed by the other guests. Just as I was about to leave, I heard my sister's desperate cry behind me. "Please, Amy, help me." Ignoring her plea, I turned back and faced her sternly. "Help you? Why should I? You brought this upon yourself with your own actions. Making fun of others and then trying to play the victim is disgraceful." Mary, clearly confused and anxious, pleaded, "Why are you being so harsh? If I had known you were successful as a lawyer." With a calm yet resolute demeanor, I replied, "Why should I have informed someone who never bothered to reach out to me about my career? Actually, I had already decided to sever ties after this wedding. Now, seeing how things turned out for you, I feel a sense of closure. You must be disappointed that your engagement to a doctor fell through. I suggest you work hard to find your next prospect." With those words, I left the venue gracefully. In the distance, I could hear the murmurs of disapproval from my parents and other guests. Everything unfolded as I had anticipated, and Mary's marriage was called off. My parents, who had pinned their hopes on Mary marrying a doctor for security, expressed their anger toward her for the first time. Overwhelmed by their disappointment, Mary sought solace with a broken heart, but I turned a deaf ear to her pleas. I ignored her calls and cut off all ties with the family. I later learned that Mary had quit her job and was now unemployed, estranged from our parents, and leading a reclusive life at home. As for me, I am content with both my professional and personal life, living peacefully without major issues. Although my relationship with my family has been strained, I am fortunate to have strong support from colleagues and friends in both my work and daily life. This positive environment is the result of years of hard work and dedication. While I faced challenges along the way, overcoming them has shaped who I am today. Reflecting on my past struggles, I now appreciate their significance. My goal is to continue living a fulfilling life at my own pace, setting achievable goals and keeping stress levels manageable. "Thanks for leaving," Olivia said with a sneer as she glanced at me. I just stared back silently. "We're trying to save money on wages. We don't want someone who takes advantage of overtime pay in our company," Jerry added, looking satisfied. A week later, I kept receiving calls from the company. "Hello," I answered. The president asked, "Who are you?" I chuckled at his question. "I'm Nicole Wallace. I'm 57 years old and I've worked here for 35 years since I graduated from college. Our company provides administrative support, handles social insurance and taxes for our clients, especially for busy company presidents who focus on sales and lack time for paperwork. I work in the tax department. I earned my bookkeeping and tax accountant qualifications in school, which led me to join this company. Currently, I manage 41 clients, keeping me quite busy. Even though a part-timer helps with accounting entries, it's still a lot to handle. But I can't show any weakness. Our clients are long-term relationships, many of whom have faced tough times. Seeing them persevere motivates me to keep going, so here I am again today, in front of my computer. Lately, I've been having a hard time. Jerry and Olivia have been bothering me a lot. Jerry, who's 6 years younger than me, is now the head of our tax department. He used to be just a regular colleague, but ever since he got promoted 5 months ago, his attitude completely changed. He used to speak politely, but now he's always sarcastic or complaining. "Nicole, what are you doing? You've got some nerve slacking off during work hours," he'd say, glaring at me while I'm researching tax-saving strategies for our clients. When I tried to argue back, Jerry stayed calm and said, "Just check the manual for that. Don't do anything unnecessary, and if you end up working overtime, don't expect to get paid for it." I overheard Olivia, Jerry's assistant, saying, "Nicole, you should work more efficiently. At this rate, you'll never finish." She laughed mockingly, adding, "That's probably why you're still just a regular employee." I was actually the first one offered the promotion to head the department, but I turned it down. Being the head would mean more time managing and less time working directly with clients. Since it was an internal offer, Jerry and Olivia didn't know about it. "I'll make sure to keep up with my regular duties," I managed to say. Despite everything, Jerry and Olivia kept harassing me. "You're racking up overtime again. What a waste," Jerry's angry voice echoed today. "Nicole, enough already. Your constant overtime is dragging down the whole tax department's performance," Olivia sighed. The reason for yesterday's overtime was simple. Jerry had let a month's worth of declaration forms pile up, all due by the end of the month. After work yesterday, he abruptly dumped several client files on my desk. My heart sank when I saw them. "Wait, aren't these all due this month?" I asked in confusion, but Jerry was already packing up. "I'm leaving. Take care of these," he said briskly and hurried out of the office. "Good luck," Olivia added, following Jerry with a mocking laugh. Unbelievable. I sighed as I opened the client files left on my desk. Some of them were supposed to be Olivia's responsibility. I sighed even deeper. I understood why Jerry was harassing me. They wanted me to retire quickly. I have more experience and deeper knowledge in taxation than him, so other members of the tax department often come to me with their questions instead of Jerry. There are other reasons why everyone avoids Jerry. He looks oily and unfriendly. The only female employee who stays close to him is Olivia. Jerry has a preference for younger women. That's probably why he wants me to retire, so the other female employees will rely on him more. It's such shallow thinking, it makes me uneasy. Also, he simply doesn't like me. Olivia was harassing me to gain favor with Jerry. Since Jerry evaluates the tax department's performance, she probably aimed to undermine me to get a good evaluation from him. Anyway, I have to handle these declarations. I need to prepare tax forms for my assigned companies, but it seems like I won't finish today's work either. If I try to claim overtime, I'll just get complaints from Jerry and Olivia, so I resigned myself to working unpaid overtime. One day I was suddenly summoned to the president's office. Our company had recently undergone a change in leadership. The founder's father, who had been running the company, had fallen ill, and his son, who previously worked elsewhere, took over despite being unfamiliar with our operations. "Excuse me," I said as I entered the president's office. I noticed Jerry and Olivia there, both wearing unpleasant smirks. "Why are Jerry and the others here?" I muttered quietly, trying not to be heard. In this tense and strange atmosphere, the president spoke. "Nicole, we need you to resign by the end of this month." "Excuse me? What do you mean?" I asked, feeling bewildered. "I've been informed by Jerry and Olivia that you've been billing excessive overtime. While other members of the tax department have around 16 hours of overtime per month, you've logged over 83 hours. Doesn't that strike you as odd? Jerry and Olivia haven't logged any overtime this month. Quite impressive, don't you think?" The president looked at me sternly. The reason my overtime was so high this month was because I was covering Jerry and Olivia's workload. I wanted to explain, but blaming Jerry could make it seem like I couldn't manage my time. So I stuck to the facts. I haven't overbilled for overtime. It's because I couldn't finish my work within regular hours, I clarified. The president sighed deeply. "I'm skeptical, but without evidence, I won't pursue it further. However, we can't continue to employ someone who works at that pace, so I need you to resign." The president seemed resolute, asking me to leave the company where I'd dedicated my entire 35-year career. I felt worn out too. No matter how much extra work I took on, it never seemed to be acknowledged. Instead, I ended up shouldering Jerry and Olivia's responsibilities as well. "Yes, I understand. I'll resign at the end of this month," I repeated to the president, realizing I had already agreed to it. I glanced at Jerry and Olivia. They were smiling smugly, clearly pleased with the outcome. After leaving the president's office with them, Olivia sneered at me, saying, "Thanks for quitting." I just stared back at her silently. Jerry echoed the sentiment, looking down on me as well. "We're cutting labor costs. We don't need someone who takes advantage of overtime pay at our company," he added, seemingly pleased. As I watched them chat cheerfully, I began preparing handover documents for all my clients. It was important to ensure a smooth transition, so I made sure to personally say goodbye to those I was handing over to. I also tried to schedule a meeting with the president to bid farewell in person. For those I couldn't meet, I sent letters informing them of my successor. A week after resigning, I finally had a moment to relax at home. I had been swamped with handover tasks right up to my last day, and even before that, my workload had been heavy. A bit of relaxation seemed well-deserved. Just as I was thinking this, my phone rang. When I saw the call was from the company, I hesitated. I had already taken care of the social insurance procedures, so I ignored the first few calls. But they persisted, even calling from Jerry and Olivia's personal phones. Perhaps they hoped I would answer if it seemed urgent from the company. Eventually, feeling reluctant, I picked up. "Hello. Nicole, it's chaotic here," the president said urgently. "Who exactly are you?" I chuckled bitterly. "Who am I now? Just an unemployed woman. I've resigned from the company, so that's all I am at the moment." The president continued urgently. "Since you left, we've had 55 calls to halt transactions with the company. Please come back immediately." With that, he abruptly hung up. He sounded genuinely panicked. It seemed I had no choice but to return. Reluctantly, I got up and headed back to the company. As soon as I arrived, Jerry and Olivia were waiting for me. Their faces were pale, and they had dark circles under their eyes. "What's going on with both of you?" I asked, surprised by their sudden change in appearance. Jerry glared at me and said sharply, "Since you left, we've been bombarded with calls to stop transactions. Not just from your clients, but from potential new clients we were about to onboard. What did you do?" Olivia also eyed me suspiciously. "I never imagined Nicole would stoop so low." "I'm truly disappointed," Jerry remarked, his voice filled with disillusionment. The reason for their worn-out appearance was likely due to handling all the cancellations. I hadn't taken any actions against the clients, but I had a hunch why they were canceling their transactions. "Well, these cancellations seem inevitable now," I muttered quietly. "So you did do something," Jerry erupted. "Get to the president's office immediately." He then hurried me along to the president's office, with Olivia following closely. President, I've brought her," Jerry declared forcefully as he swung open the door, with Olivia entering hastily behind him. "I've been waiting," the president said, fixing his gaze on me. Jerry accused me as if I were the culprit. "It appears that Nicole was involved in the cancellation of transactions with our clients. We should not only have her resign but also consider legal action for damages," Olivia argued vehemently, choosing her words carefully in front of the president. The president ignored Jerry and Olivia's interruptions and turned to me again. "Why did so many companies stop transactions after you left?" I took a deep breath and replied firmly, "It's simple. Our clients didn't just need basic tax management. They valued the personalized tax-saving strategies I'd offered. They could get cheaper services elsewhere, but they chose to stay with us because of the tailored approach I provided." Jerry snapped at me. "Who do you think you are to talk like that to the president? Do you really believe you're that indispensable?" Olivia taunted, "That's absurd. It has to be Nicole's doing." The president's expression was serious. Jerry and Olivia focus on operating strictly by the book, optimizing efficiency. But Nicole's approach involves more than that. It's about offering custom strategies that benefit our clients individually. One-size-fits-all solutions don't always meet our clients' needs, which is why many valued Nicole's contributions and chose to remain with us. Jerry grew visibly frustrated. "How can we justify spending so much time on each client's case? It's inefficient." "Yeah, it's not practical," Olivia added emphatically. The president sighed deeply and revealed, "Actually, I just spoke with Dad, the former president. Some of the clients who stopped transactions went directly to him to discuss Nicole." I was taken aback by this unexpected turn. I hadn't realized the extent to which clients valued my contributions. Dad mentioned that the tax department thrived because of Nicole. She not only managed her own clients exceptionally well but also supported her colleagues' clients, offering expertise that Jerry can't match. Dad also mentioned that if Nicole hadn't declined a promotion earlier, she would have been in a higher position than a department head by now, the president said with a troubled expression. "No way," Olivia exclaimed, clearly shocked. It seemed she couldn't fathom the idea of me potentially being her superior. The president continued, his tone regretful, "I deeply apologize for asking you to resign, Nicole. Can we rescind your resignation? You're indispensable to our company." I was genuinely pleased by the president's change of heart, but I hesitated to accept it. Before I could respond, Jerry interrupted forcefully. "President, what do you mean she's better than me? I can't accept this." Jerry was visibly upset, his voice betraying his frustration. Olivia joined in, protesting, "Jerry is an excellent leader who genuinely cares for his team. Are you really favoring Nicole over him? That's unfair." The president fixed a stern look on them both. "In fact, since Nicole resigned, we've been receiving numerous complaints from the tax department. It seems that both of you have been offloading your responsibilities onto others, haven't you?" "What? That's not true." Jerry's face paled, his denial immediate. The president spoke with a look of disappointment. "I've heard from the staff. Jerry, you've been delegating the preparation of your clients' declaration forms to your subordinates, even assigning Olivia's workload to them for many clients." Beside Jerry, who grew visibly paler, Olivia trembled when her name was brought up. "There have been reports that you shifted your responsibilities onto Nicole before she resigned. Jerry, you even called her a time thief. It seems the roles have been reversed, haven't they?" The president sighed heavily. "No, that's not true," Jerry stammered, clearly flustered and unable to defend himself. Watching Jerry and Olivia both turn pale, the president continued sternly, "Furthermore, there have been reports of a relationship between you two. You've been seen leaving work together frequently. But Jerry, aren't you married?" The president's glare intensified as he looked at Jerry and Olivia. "I was simply mentoring Olivia in my role as her superior, nothing more," Jerry struggled to explain, but the president produced several receipts. These are expense receipts flagged by the accounting department, dining expenses claimed by Jerry. Who were these meals with? Certainly not clients, right? Jerry was sweating profusely, unable to answer. Olivia's face turned ashen. "Jerry and Olivia, not only have you neglected your responsibilities and inflated expense claims, but you've also engaged in an inappropriate relationship within the office, despite being married. According to company policy, I am terminating your employment effective immediately," the president stated calmly and decisively. Jerry and Olivia pleaded desperately. "Please wait. I'll retract the expense claims, just don't fire me." "I have a family," Jerry begged, trying to reverse his termination. Olivia echoed his plea, "Please, I don't want to lose my job. I'll apologize to Nicole and others for dumping work on them." Olivia was visibly on the brink of tears, realizing the gravity of being fired for neglecting her duties and having an affair with a superior. She must have been deeply concerned about her reputation. Trying to offer some advice, I said to Jerry and Olivia, "Why continue to resist? It's not helping your situation." Jerry shot me a glare. "Shut up. What could someone like you possibly understand? I sighed and replied, Jerry, it was your actions that led to my resignation. It's just karma. What goes around comes around. Perhaps it's time for you to take responsibility and do some self-reflection. Damn it, Jerry exclaimed in frustration, while Olivia bit her lip anxiously. I haven't disclosed everything yet, but there's more to Jerry and Olivia's misconduct. Should I share more details? I asked the president with a wry smile. The stories of Jerry and Olivia's behavior were widely known in the tax department, and their reputations had preceded them. No, please don't, Nickel, please stop, they both pleaded urgently, trying to halt me. Giving them a firm ultimatum, I said misdeeds have a way of surfacing eventually. It might be in your best interest to confront reality before it escalates further. At my words, both Jerry and Olivia fell to their knees. The president wasted no time and terminated their employment on the spot. Later, I disclosed their wrongdoings, which included Jerry fabricating business trips to spend time with Olivia for days, as well as pressuring disliked colleagues to resign by unfairly reprimanding them and imposing sudden, unreasonable deadlines. Former employees who had resigned had asked me to keep quiet initially, but now that they were happily employed elsewhere, I felt it was appropriate to speak up. The president was incensed by the revelations. He expressed his anger by docking their final salaries and announced plans to conduct a thorough investigation into past inflated expense claims. Tearfully, Jerry pleaded with the president, "Please don't dock my salary. What will I say to my family?" Eventually, Jerry's affair with Olivia came to light to his wife, resulting in their divorce. Both now faced claims for compensation in the divorce proceedings. For some reason, Jerry reached out to me, pleading, "Please, can you convince the president to reconsider the termination? Olivia and I are in serious trouble now." Jerry and Olivia were having a hard time finding new jobs because the tax industry is tight-knit. If you mess up, everyone hears about it, and that makes it tough to get hired elsewhere. They really need money for their divorce settlement and living expenses, so they're doing manual labor on construction sites now. It's a big change from their usual office work. Olivia calls me crying often, saying, "Nickel, please help. I just wanted a raise and a better life," she would say tearfully, but I couldn't bring myself to help. I still vividly remembered the stress and problems they caused me. I would say to Olivia, "You made your choices, now you have to deal with them," I explained. "You can't expect sympathy when you never showed any to others." "But it's so tough," Olivia would cry. "I never thought it would turn out like this." "Actions have consequences," I replied. "You and Jerry brought this upon yourselves. You can't undo it now. You have to face the consequences of your actions." Olivia's despairing cries were the consequences of her own decisions. It was a tough lesson, but one she needed to learn. Meanwhile, I found solace in my new routine. Working at my friend's tax office was fulfilling. I enjoyed the work and the positive environment, unlike the toxic atmosphere Jerry and Olivia had created. The president's requests for my return became more frequent. "Please come back, Nickel, we really need you," he would urge. Each time I would politely decline, saying, "I'm sorry, but I've moved on." I appreciate the offer, though. Every day, starting my own office seemed like a clearer goal. In my own space, I could make the rules. No more unfair treatment or office politics. My focus would be on giving my clients the best service, building relationships based on trust and respect. In this new phase of my life, I finally felt at ease. I felt lighter, free from the burdens of the past. My days had purpose, and my nights were calm, without the anxiety that used to bother me. Looking ahead, I saw endless opportunities. I could learn more, face new challenges, and create something from scratch. My second chance was just beginning, and I was eager for what lay ahead. Freed from the negativity of my old job, I embraced the opportunities ahead with enthusiasm. As I planned my new business, I recalled the support and trust my clients had shown me. They were my motivation to stay in this field. Their faith in my abilities formed the bedrock of my new venture. With them in mind, I felt confident in my future success. Though my journey had been challenging, it had also made me resilient. Strengthened by my experiences, I was prepared to turn the page and embark on a new chapter with renewed vigor and a clear vision. Ultimately, Olivia and Jerry's setbacks served as a stark reminder of the importance of integrity and respect in the workplace. Their story underscored my commitment to fostering a positive and supportive environment in my own office. Moving forward, I carried the knowledge that I could overcome any obstacle. My determination and resilience had brought me this far and would continue to guide me in the future. My second chance wasn't just a continuation of the past, it was a fresh start filled with promise and potential.
I'm not scared of threats from a housewife like you who doesn't work and has no parents. You can't do anything with a pile of trash because it's just garbage. Now I understand how you feel. I'm moving out of this house, so now you'll be homeless. Good luck with that. This is a good chance for Larry to leave too. Let's team up to clean up the mess and get rid of the trash. They went to Larry's room and told him to pack up and leave. I was planning to leave on my own, but I didn't expect Larry to get kicked out too. My name is Lauren. I'm 29 years old and I'm a housewife. I recently married a man named David, who's 33 years old, 4 years older than me. At first, I thought he was mature and calm like an older man, especially because he often talked about his mother. I thought he was a good man who cared about his family. But after we got married, I saw my husband's true personality. On our wedding day, my mother-in-law was really kind to me, and I thought we would have a happy marriage. After we got married, my husband suggested we live with his mom because his dad had passed away a few years before. He said he wanted to take care of his mom. I trusted my mother-in-law, so I agreed to move in with her. But everything changed as soon as we got married. They started telling me things like, "Hurry up, Lauren, bring me tea, and clean the bathroom and toilet quickly." My mother-in-law would yell at me and give me orders like that. Maybe she wanted to scare me, or maybe it was because of her age. She'd call me loudly and make me do all sorts of chores. The biggest surprise was discovering I had a roommate no one had told me about. One morning, I was shocked to find a man I didn't know in the kitchen. I stood there wondering who he was. He noticed me and said, "I'm Larry, David's younger brother." He introduced himself. I had no idea David had a brother, let alone one who lived with us. Larry is 30 years old, the same age as me. I went to my mother-in-law and asked her to introduce me to my brother-in-law. She replied, "Oh, you mean Larry? Don't worry about him. He's like a reclusive ghost." I was taken aback. How could she dismiss her own son like that? She called him a ghost and said she was content with just David. She described Larry as a useless hermit who only went out for shopping and otherwise stayed at home. Her words shocked me. I felt let down by my mother-in-law and couldn't believe how much she had changed since our wedding. It was heartbreaking to see her treat her own son unfairly. Being an only child with no siblings, I couldn't relate to having a brother. If my own mother said such things about me or ignored me, I would be devastated. My parents have passed away, and I envy families who are alive and close-knit. I had hoped that at least parents and children could have good relationships. I asked my husband about Larry when he came home from work. I hoped maybe the brothers could get along, but my husband was distant. He said, "Just leave him be, pretend he's not there. He won't bother you." He said it like it didn't matter, as if he had forgotten to mention it. I was disappointed to hear him refer to his own brother as a ghost. My husband seemed disconnected from his family, just tied to his mother. After finishing my chores for the day, I went upstairs, feeling regretful about my marriage. That's when I ran into Larry, who was heading to the bathroom. "You're married to my brother, aren't you?" Larry said to me. "Yeah, what's wrong?" I replied. "I'm sorry, forget I said anything. But I don't say things lightly. You should consider leaving," he said. "What?" I asked, confused. "I'm sorry, but I think you should get a divorce," he said. I felt offended and confused by how my husband and mother-in-law were behaving. I married my husband because I loved him, so it was shocking that Larry would suggest divorce after just one day. "It's none of your business. I can handle it," I told him. "I'm sorry about that. I tend to be blunt." Larry apologized, bowing his head. His apology seemed sincere, but I wasn't sure. Maybe he was trying to be polite or genuinely concerned. While I was thinking about this, Larry excused himself and went to his room. My mother-in-law and husband described Larry as a strange recluse. But to me, he seemed like a decent person who deserved respect. The next morning, as I set breakfast on the table, Larry came down to get a drink. "Good morning, Larry. Why don't you join us for breakfast?" I offered. "Good morning, Lauren. Thank you for inviting me," Larry replied, casting a glance at his mother. "I'm not eating breakfast with him. Just get the breakfast done," she yelled at me. "It's okay," Larry said quickly and returned to his room. I wanted to apologize for my strong words from yesterday, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. "Hey, all you need to do is the housework. Don't do anything unnecessary, okay?" My mother-in-law gave me a stern glare. I was taken aback by her harsh tone. As the new bride, I hadn't expected to be treated like this. My husband's behavior towards me also changed drastically. "What the heck? Curry again today? You should have told me beforehand," he shouted. "I already had curry for lunch. Why didn't you call me to say you wanted something else?" I stayed quiet. He kept yelling, "You're not even apologizing. Who do you think you are? Your job is to do the housework, so make sure you understand that." I was shocked and remained silent. David didn't love me. He just wanted a housekeeper. It's awful. How could he be so cruel? I whispered to myself in disbelief. Their calm voices showed they didn't care about me. They just wanted to make themselves comfortable. They were using me. Seeing them laughing and watching TV in the living room, I quietly went upstairs. As soon as I reached my room, tears started streaming down my face. Then, a gentle hand offered me a handkerchief. "I still think you should leave," said a familiar voice. I looked up, and it was Larry. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," I managed to say between sobs. I wiped my tears quickly. "I'm sorry I used your handkerchief." "No, I gave it to you because I wanted you to use it," Larry replied kindly. I overheard what my brother and mother said. "I knew it. They're the worst," he continued. When I asked Larry what he meant by "I knew it," he confided that he had been in a similar situation before. Curious, I pressed for details. Larry explained that David had promised to marry another woman previously, but just like with me, his mother and David's mistreatment had driven her away shortly before the wedding. Hearing Larry's story brought some relief, showing me that my husband and mother-in-law had acted nice only to avoid scaring away the bride before marriage. I felt trapped and hopeless. How could I have trusted them? But I had no other options. As just a housewife, I couldn't get a part-time job, move out, or rent another place. I didn't know what to do except cry. Then Larry suggested, "If we keep talking here, it might raise suspicions. Let's meet at a coffee shop next time, if you'd like." He handed me a piece of paper with his contact information and went back to his room. Determined to leave this house, I knew my struggle for survival was just beginning. I told my mother-in-law I was going to the city office and then to the supermarket. She warned me not to leave any chores undone. So I made sure everything was perfect before leaving. She grumbled about not accepting any excuses if I was late for dinner. Pretending to agree, I headed to the coffee shop where Larry and I had arranged to meet. I told Larry that my parents had passed away, so I couldn't rely on them anymore. I had canceled the house I was renting and quit my job. I told him I needed to start all over again. It's tough to move out of the house in this situation, especially with the work that keeps me tied up with my mother-in-law and husband from early in the morning until late at night. Larry then asked me, "Lauren, can you draw?" "Huh? What do you mean?" I replied, confused. "Oh, I see, so can you?" "Yes, well, I went to art school before," I said. "Really? That's great," he exclaimed. "Yes, but how?" I asked. "Just in time. Another manga artist is looking for an assistant. You can do it remotely," Larry said. "But I don't have a computer right now," I responded. "I'll lend you my computer that I'm not using right now," Larry said kindly. "Really? Thank you so much. But why do you have an extra computer? What do you do for a living?" I asked curiously. "That's nice of you to ask. You don't think I'm just a recluse, did you?" No, you speak politely and look well put together, so I don't think that at all." "Do you work from home?" I replied. "Yes, actually, I'm an engineer," Larry said. "An engineer? I had no idea. I didn't realize you were a business owner," I exclaimed. "Yes, I used to work for a company, but now I have my own business. Running things independently works better for me. We also have web designers on staff. It's a small team, so we handle everything remotely," he explained. "I see, that explains why you're always at home. But your mother and David said you're just idle at home. Haven't you told them the truth?" I asked. "I don't see any benefit in telling those two," Larry replied. "Fair enough. But if you're such a capable manager, why don't you leave that house?" I wondered. Then, for the first time, Larry shared his thoughts with me. "Let's not focus on me. I need to introduce you to the manga artist," he said. Larry immediately made a phone call, and soon a remote interview was scheduled for me. I was set to interview with a manga artist on Wednesday. My mother-in-law usually had lessons during that time, followed by outings with other participants, so I could manage the remote interview then. It seemed I made a good impression because I was hired on the spot. They agreed to send the hiring documents addressed to Larry, considering my situation. Next, we needed to find a place for me to stay. "I have a friend who works at a real estate agency. He can help you find a good deal," Larry said. "Who is this guy?" "He seems to have connections," I remarked. Our search for a new place went smoothly, and we signed a lease for a place that suited my needs. Just when things were starting to fall into place, I had an argument with my husband one day. Hey, where's dinner? My husband woke me up while I was sleeping in our bedroom. He seemed a bit drunk, like he had just come home from drinking. Dinner? It's midnight. Besides, you said you didn't want to eat because you were going out for drinks, I replied. Shut up. The king is home, and you don't even get up to greet him. And now you say you didn't make dinner. You're a useless wife. His words made me really angry. Do you have any idea how hard I've been working with your mother for you? How can you act so superior to me? I shot back. That's because you're my wife. A wife should support her husband, and your job is to take care of the house. If you can't do your chores, don't argue with me. A wife who can't handle the housework is worthless, my husband said, just as I heard the door open. My mother-in-law left in an awkward way. You're just like trash. Larry is also trash, and this place looks like a dump, my husband sneered, with my mother-in-law agreeing. Yes, let's get rid of this oversized trash, he added. What did you just say? So, I asked him directly. He opened a drawer and pulled out a piece of paper. This is what I mean. It's divorce papers. You're no longer useful to me. I'm going to find another wife who can replace you. That's why I'm divorcing you. Get out of my house, you disgrace. You think a wife is just a servant. The best wife is one who acts like a housekeeper. You shouldn't speak like that. One day, you might regret it, I replied calmly. What are you going to do about it? I'm not scared of any threats from a housewife like you, with no job and no parents, he laughed. My husband and mother-in-law joined in. Exactly, you're useless. You can't do anything about it because you're just trash. Well, now I understand how you truly feel. I'm leaving this house. I said that and signed the divorce papers. Then, I left. I packed my things, placing the divorce papers in my bag. My mother-in-law and husband watched with smirks on their faces. Now you're homeless. What are you going to do? It's none of our concern anymore. Good luck, homeless lady. Oh, and as for Larry, it's a good opportunity for him to leave too. Yeah, let's clean house and make this place bigger and more comfortable once he's gone. My husband and mother-in-law were already discussing their plans after kicking us out. Then they went to Larry's room and told him to pack his things and leave. I had already decided to leave, but I hadn't expected them to kick out Larry too. I felt some regret for letting my emotions get the best of me and fighting with my husband. I'm sorry, Larry. This is my fault, I said. No need to apologize, Larry replied. I've realized I can't live with them anymore. Plus, I have other interests. Maybe it's fortunate we had that argument, he smiled. It seemed Larry wasn't upset about leaving, which eased my mind a little. 5 days later, on Wednesday, while my mother-in-law was out of town, Larry and I called a moving company and left. After finishing our move, my mother-in-law called my new place. Don't worry, we're already gone, I assured her. Larry came with you, right? She asked. Yes, we moved out together. I'm relieved I won't have to see you two anymore, she said happily before hanging up. But what she didn't know was that Larry and I had been planning our revenge. With Larry's help, I managed to move out and start a new life just in time. I received a substantial settlement from my husband in the divorce. Larry had recorded what my husband and mother-in-law said during our fight, which was considered harassment and helped prove their fault in the divorce. This enabled me to claim a significant amount of money as retribution against my husband. Larry's friend, a lawyer, assisted me in securing alimony. My husband was shocked but ultimately accepted the settlement. I was deeply grateful to Larry for his support and decided not to dwell on it further. A few days later, I received numerous phone calls from my ex-mother-in-law. It felt like a nightmare come true. Realizing I had forgotten to block her number, I reluctantly answered the phone. Lauren, where are you? She demanded. There's no way I'm telling you that. We're strangers now, I replied firmly. Please don't say that, she pleaded. I'm calling because, where is Larry? She asked. Huh? Why are you asking about Larry? I responded. I've been trying to reach him, but I can't get in touch anymore, she explained. That's too bad. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to you anymore, I retorted, trying to provoke her. Then someone else grabbed the phone. Don't play games. You moved out together. You must know where he is, they insisted. You're all ridiculous. I knew exactly where Larry was, but I wasn't about to tell them. I honestly don't know. You'll have to find him on your own, I replied. Where are you anyway? You have no home, job, or place to go. If you're willing to beg, maybe I'll let you return, but only as my housekeeper, she sneered. I'm not coming back to you. I have a job and a place to live. I'm moving on, I shot back. That's a lie, she yelled. My ex-husband was shocked, not knowing I could settle everything so quickly. I didn't bother correcting him. Please do not contact me again. If you call or come near me, I'll call the police, I declared firmly, hanging up. I promptly blocked my ex-mother-in-law's number, having already blocked my ex-husband's. They seemed panicked, realizing something important. They thought my father-in-law had left them a large inheritance, but it turned out that Larry had been regularly sending money to his mother's account. My mother-in-law had always seen Larry as lazy and without a job, so she couldn't believe it when the bank stopped the monthly transfers after he was kicked out. It was only then that they realized who had been supporting them financially, but by that point, it was too late. Larry had already cut ties with his mother and brother. My ex-husband couldn't afford alimony without the money from Larry, and my ex-mother-in-law relied on those monthly transfers. Now that the money had stopped, she was facing financial trouble. They both got what they deserved, and I don't feel sorry for them at all. By the way, Larry bought a nice apartment in New York and is living comfortably there. Why was he so well off? Why did he send money to his parents all those years? It was because he made a promise to his father. Unlike his mother, Larry's father loved him deeply. Despite the mistreatment from his mother and brother, Larry stayed true to his father's wishes. His father had once told Larry, even if you don't always get along with your mother and brother, they're still family to me. Please take care of them after I'm gone. Honoring this promise, despite facing mistreatment, Larry quietly sent money to support his mother and brother. It's heartbreaking that they kicked out such a kind-hearted person like Larry without knowing the truth. I met Larry once after we moved out. He explained his commitment to his father's wishes, and I fully understood and respected his decision. He was my savior after the betrayal by my husband, and I consider him a significant person in my life. I wish him all the happiness. 2 years later, Larry proposed to me. He asked for my hand in marriage, but that's a story for another time. It's unfortunate how someone kind can change so drastically after marriage. It's like a marriage scam, isn't it? Fortunately, my brother-in-law is a dependable person, and now I'm happily married to him. Despite the challenges, I've found peace and happiness. I hope these happy days continue. Thank you for following along until the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. You're not needed anymore, so please go. Why would you say that after everything we've been through? This house is enough. I'm going to live here with my daughter and the others. I worked hard for 15 years to save up and buy this place. I chose a big condo so we could all live together because she wanted to move in. But then my husband stepped in. Why are you surprised? Your job here is done. Thanks for everything up to now. Are you serious? I looked straight at my husband, trying hard to stay calm despite my mixed feelings. Of course, if you don't want to leave, we can get a divorce. Do it quickly. Hearing this, I made up my mind. My husband is unemployed and doesn't understand what would happen if we divorced now. I realized he was a disappointment and I wanted to leave as soon as possible. Understood. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now, okay? I'd be so happy not to see your face again. They both gave me the ugliest smiles I had ever seen. There was no need to hold back against a husband and mother-in-law like this. I wanted them to feel the consequences immediately, so I sold the high-rise condo right away. My name is Sandra, and I turned 39 this year. I've been married to Robert for 4 years. We used to work at the same company, but we weren't that close. Then 4 years ago, something changed. Huh? Sandra. Robert, is that you? Long time no see. What are you doing here? Actually, I quit my job today. What? Why? I quit because it was finally time to chase a dream I've always had. You know I've been drawing cartoons for a while, right? I finally made my debut. Seriously? That's amazing. Show me sometime. Back then, I didn't have any special feelings for him, but I was happy he praised me. Later, I found out that after quitting the company, Robert started his own business. The last time we saw each other was in our 20s, and at that time, things were going well for me at work. If you're okay with it, why don't we date? That's sudden, isn't it? I think we're really compatible. Robert's confession surprised me, but it didn't feel bad. I was about to turn 35 and thinking about marriage too. But I'm at the age where I want to get married. Then let's get married. What, really? I was overwhelmed by how quickly things were moving. Is that a no? Thank you. Yes. Before I knew it, I had accepted his proposal. I went ahead with it on impulse, and though I was full of anxieties, they proved to be unfounded. You've worked hard here. Want some coffee? Thanks. Another all-nighter? Yeah, the deadline is close. Don't push yourself too hard. Both my marriage and job were going well. In fact, things were so good that I wondered if it was okay for them to be this perfect. Robert understood my work and even took care of household chores when I was busy. There was just one thing that bothered me. By the way, how's work lately? Huh? Oh, it's fine. I've had some free time recently. Why? You've been coming home early and doing all the housework. I'm just doing it because I like to. Don't worry about it, okay? We used to talk about work a lot, but for the last few weeks, he hadn't mentioned anything about his job. I believed him when he said everything was okay and didn't ask more questions. Looking back, that might have been a mistake. Before I knew it, nearly 4 years had passed. My job was going well, and there was even talk of turning my work into comics and animations. Then, I started wanting to have our own home. I've been thinking about getting our own place. What do you think? A house? That sounds great. Oh, but is something wrong? Robert looked down with a regretful expression. I prepared myself, sensing something unpleasant was coming. I know this is sudden, but is there any way my mom could live with us? What? Your mother? She's alone now, and I'm a bit worried about her. Since losing my father-in-law 2 years ago, my mother-in-law seemed to have lost her spirit. It felt like there was a big hole in her heart. I was indeed worried about leaving her alone from now on. Okay, but it will take time to build a house. Maybe a condo would be better. Thank you. Just agreeing to live with her is enough for me. You can decide the rest. Then that's what we'll do. So in between work, I visited various condos since we were going to live together. I wanted something spacious and comfortable. I had savings from 15 years of frugal living. A month after starting the search for a condo, I signed the contract. Today, really? What kind is it? This one. I showed my husband the brochure for the condo I had chosen. I was confident he would be pleased. Is this a high-rise luxury condo? Yes, it is. I thought we might as well. He probably didn't expect me to choose a high-rise. Although surprised, his eyes sparkled like a child who had just received a new toy. Mom will definitely be happy with this. I hope so. With this, a new life, including my mother-in-law, was about to begin, filled with a little anxiety and great anticipation. However, I would soon realize that it was a mistake as soon as we started living with her. Sandra, thanks for letting me stay here. This place is amazing. Oh, it's no big deal. I just did what anyone would do. Everything was fine for a while, but 3 months later, my mother-in-law's behavior suddenly changed a lot. Sorry, could you clean my room? My back hurts. I'm sorry, Mom, I have to work now. Then my mother-in-law said something completely different from her usual kindness. Work? You just stay in your room all day while Robert does all the housework, don't you? Robert and I decided that together. No more excuses. Just do it now, please. I didn't understand why she was acting so differently. All I knew then was that not doing what she asked would only cause more problems, so I cleaned the room thoroughly as she wanted. I'll be in the living room. Let me know when you're done. She didn't help at all and just relaxed in comfort. Why did I have to do this? I felt frustrated. I'm finished. At last, can't you clean a bit faster? I'm sorry. Well, okay then. Please make sure to do it regularly from now on. In the end, my mother-in-law went back to her room without thanking me. I was angry at her demanding attitude, but I kept quiet, fearing more complaints if I resisted. I told my husband about it. My mom? Why would she do that? I'll talk to her. Really? I find it hard to talk back to her. Don't worry, I'll handle it. His reassurance made me feel better. True enough, from the next day onwards, my mother-in-law stopped being so harsh with me. I thought I could now concentrate on work as usual until a week later when I returned home from a meeting. I'm back. When I walked in, I noticed unfamiliar shoes by the door. As I approached the living room, I overheard voices. Hey, where's Sandra today? Oh, she's at a meeting. It's amazing though. She's become a successful cartoon artist at her age. Yeah, it's impressive. Why do you sound so proud? It was Robert's sister, Christina, who was visiting. Just as I was about to enter the room, I heard more of their conversation. By the way, Mom, you've been quieter lately. Oh yes, it's more amusing to knock her down when she feels secure, isn't it? And Robert, you agree, right? Well, if she can't work anymore, it would be a problem, right? Sandra is the one bringing in money for us after all. Oh right. I stood there, stunned not only by what was said, but by the realization that my husband and mother-in-law were plotting something together. From then on, life became unbearable. Did you discuss that thing? About work? I didn't think it needed to be brought up. You always do this. What? What are you talking about? Christina asked innocently, clearly unaware of the conversation's subject. I was also clueless and eager to hear Robert's explanation. Well, it couldn't be helped. Actually, the company I was running went bankrupt shortly after we got married. What? You never mentioned that. That's terrible, Christina exclaimed. I've been through a lot, but I was lucky. I never expected that when I suggested living with Mom, Sandra would opt for such an upscale condo. When Robert admitted this to me, instead of surprise, I felt a surge of anger because I realized I had been deceived. Knowing he had hidden this and acted normal made me feel sick to my stomach. At that moment, I regretted everything deeply. If only I hadn't ignored the signs of change in my husband. But I couldn't dwell on regrets forever, and I started considering when to leave. Maybe it's time, Robert remarked. Time for what? Christina asked. Well, that's for another time, Robert replied casually. Unable to listen any longer, I burst through the door. They were shocked, clearly not expecting me to return. What's going on? I demanded. Seeing my husband and mother-in-law flustered, I almost laughed but held it back. You startled me. If you were back, you should have said something, Robert stammered. I did say I'm home, but maybe you were too caught up in your conversation. I retorted. Well, never mind. Sandra, come sit here. Let's have some coffee together. Yes, thank you, I replied politely, then engaged in meaningless conversation. It felt like it had been ages since I'd endured such dullness. After about an hour, Christina announced she was leaving. I should head home now. You could stay a bit longer. I'd like to, but I have plans after this. Well, if that's the case, I understand. Let me walk you about part of the way. Christina probably sensed my feelings towards Robert and his mother. Maybe that's why she wanted to get away from the situation. As Christina was leaving, I stopped her. Thanks for coming today. Did you have a good time? Yes, Christina replied nervously, as if fearing criticism. Seeing her uneasy expression, I decided it was best to give her a heads up. I wanted to tell you something, Christina. You shouldn't trust them too much. What do you mean? About what we talked about earlier? Christina's expression turned pale as she seemed to grasp that my husband and mother-in-law were the ones I was warning her about. I understand. See you around. From then on, as far as I know, Christina never visited us again. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how to exact revenge on them. One day, as part of my routine, I checked the mailbox and found a letter addressed to Robert. The moment I saw it, I couldn't help but laugh, thinking it might be useful. I'm heading to work. Have a good day. How insincere. Curious about where he was really going, I decided to follow him. I had observed as he idled in a park for a while before heading to a casino. I took photos to have evidence for later use. He was unemployed and yet engaged in activities like this. Who made this awful meal? My mother-in-law's criticism had started again, likely sparked by our earlier conversation. I had been pondering ways to retaliate against her. I made it. Since Robert doesn't cook and no one else could have, it had to be me. How dare you serve something like this? You didn't put poison in it, did you? Clean this up. Her words were harsh, almost refreshing. I was angry, but that wasn't my main concern. Unable to come up with a plan on my own, I decided to call my mother. I was nervous about her reaction, but getting back at my husband and mother-in-law was more important. Hello, Mom. You sound upset. What's wrong? Actually, I proceeded to tell my mother everything that had been happening. I had expected her to be critical, but instead she was sympathetic. So that's what's been going on. You've been through a lot. Her words brought tears to my eyes. But what should I do now? From what you've told me, the condo is in your name, right? Yes, but... And it seems they both like living there. Why not just sell it? Sell it? The idea hadn't occurred to me. My mother's suggestion struck a chord. I started imagining how my husband and mother-in-law would react to losing their home. Life would certainly become challenging for my unemployed husband and mother-in-law. It's actually a good idea, isn't it? It sure is, but it's amazing how you can say that with a laugh. Well, it's your decision, Sandra. Just know that we're here for you. Yeah, hearing you say that gives me more strength. Feel free to reach out anytime. I couldn't stop thinking about my mother's advice. One evening after dinner and cleaning up, Robert said he needed to talk. Following his instructions, I sat down on the sofa where both Robert and my mother-in-law were smirking. I had a sinking feeling about this. So what's this talk about? I asked cautiously. My mother-in-law began. You're no longer needed here, so please leave. Why would you say that after everything? This house is. She interrupted me sharply, ignoring my frustration. Enough. I'm going to live here with Christina and the others. Why with Christina and the others? I asked, recalling the conversation they had at home that day. It seemed this was the fun they had planned. Robert then added, why the surprised look? Your role here is finished. Thanks for everything up to now. Are you serious? I stared directly at him, my emotions overwhelming me. Fine, if you want me to leave, we can get divorced. Let's get it over with. Upon hearing my words, I made my decision. Robert, being unemployed, seemed oblivious to the consequences of divorce. What a disappointment. I wanted to leave that place as soon as possible, and I had prepared for this moment. Fine, if that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now. Fine. I'd be thrilled not to see your face again, Robert sneered. They both wore the most sinister smiles I had ever seen. There was no reason to hold back anymore against such a husband and mother-in-law. I wanted to make them feel the consequences right away. Packing only the essentials, I walked out of the house. They watched me leave, but I felt no sadness or regret. Since we're getting divorced anyway, you handle the divorce papers. I'm not worried about this condo. You can take care of it, I said calmly. Without waiting for their response, I walked away without looking back. They could say whatever they wanted. For now, I decided to return to my parents' home. I'm on my way home. So, you've made your decision? Yes, I might be a bit of a burden for a while. Your father and I are here for you. Take your time coming back. At home, my parents welcomed me with unchanged warmth. Seeing their faces, I felt a profound sense of relief. Welcome back. I'm home. It's been a while since you've been here. Take it easy today. Thank you. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. The next day, I wasted no time. I prepared the divorce papers and headed straight to the real estate agent. It was better to sell the condo than to leave it for my husband and mother-in-law, who had no income and would struggle without a home. This condo is in demand. We should find a buyer quickly. That's good to hear. Please take care of it. Consider it done. A month later, the real estate agent informed me that a buyer was interested in the condo. My ex-husband and mother-in-law were still living there, and during that month, I had successfully finalized the divorce. They were now strangers to me, and I eagerly anticipated meeting these two oblivious individuals. The potential buyer wants to view the property soon. Got it. Can I be there for the showing? That would be very helpful. Please join us. The day of the showing finally arrived. As I opened the front door, Robert burst out. Hey, who let you in? Who are you people? Apparently he hadn't noticed me, so I stepped forward. Long time no see. Huh? Why are you here? Funny you should ask. After all, this condo is in my name. What? It seemed he hadn't understood the situation yet. Don't you get it? It means this place isn't yours to claim. That can't be true, he stammered. Then my mother-in-law appeared, which I thought was perfect timing. I decided to confront both of them right then and there. Hey, what are you doing causing a scene in someone's home? Don't just barge in here. I could call the police on you. That should be my line. You two have no right to live here. Talking nonsense won't help you. This place belongs to us. I sighed at their stubbornness. Could you please leave this house immediately? You're disrupting the viewing. Viewing? Why would there be a viewing? Because I've put this condo up for sale. Like I said, I bought this place, so I own it. Robert seemed too furious to comprehend. Even if what you're saying is true, where are we supposed to live? Why don't you go back to your parents' house? We tore down that old house. Oh, that's unfortunate. Stop joking. Robert tried to grab me. Fortunately, I dodged quickly, and he stumbled and fell dramatically. Everyone except my mother-in-law burst into laughter at his fall. "If you don't want me to call the police for trespassing, please leave. You're in the way." I looked down at him as I spoke. When I saw his face, he looked like he was on the verge of tears, finally understanding the situation. He then knelt down and begged, but nothing he could do would change my mind. "We were wrong. Please forgive us." Mom apologized to her too. "Why should I? Apologizing won't change anything now. Can you just disappear from my sight? I won't ask again." With that, Robert, dragging his mother by the hand, fled like a defeated animal. Watching them leave like that brought an unexpected sense of relief. The viewing proceeded smoothly and the sale was finalized. I informed them both they needed to remove any remaining belongings from the condo. That was my final act of leniency. Later, I received a call from Christina. "What's going on, Christina?" "It's about my mom and what happened." Curious about their situation, since I hadn't kept track of them, I listened attentively. It seems they're living in a tiny one-room apartment now. "See, I warned you not to trust them." I've definitely learned that lesson from this experience. It turned out Christina had taken my advice and refused any further involvement with them, which is why she wasn't present during the viewing. "From now on, it's best to keep your distance from them," I advised. Yes, Christina agreed, determined to avoid any more entanglements with those two. However, not long after, Robert reached out to me again. "Can you lend me some money?" "Just a little." "That's your own fault for gambling and accumulating debt. I found debt collection letters addressed to you by chance. And I also had someone follow you when you lied about having a job and went out. I'm working seriously now, but I still have debts, and it's hard to make ends meet." "That's not my problem." "Oh, and could you pass a message to your mother? Tell her she got what she deserved." I hung up immediately, realizing they would likely face more difficult times ahead. Reflecting on these events, I considered turning this experience into a comic for my next project. It could make for an intriguing story. He's retiring, so to celebrate, I'm taking our parents to France starting today. I'm borrowing your platinum card for the trip. We're going to enjoy ourselves using your credit card. What a trip. What are you talking about? Exactly what I said. No, I don't understand what you mean by exactly what I said. Please explain. We need to hurry. I understand. We'll leave soon. Sorry, I have to go now. I'll hear the details when I get back. Just one thing though, the credit card won't work. Huh? My jobless husband Parker took my credit card to take our parents on a trip. I've put up with a lot from Parker, but this seems like the perfect chance. I'm going to make sure Parker learns a lesson, and when he returns from the trip, he'll have some big regrets. I'm Lee, a 32-year-old employee at a major company. After graduating from a top university, I landed a great job and have been doing well. Even though I'm only 32, I make enough money to support Parker, who doesn't work, and a child, if we had one. But that's just a possibility. We've been married for 2 years and don't have kids yet, though we're thinking about it. Despite having a good job and income, I'm not happy with my newly life. The part about having a child is just an idea, but Parker not working is real. I'm not hungry for dinner because I had snacks. That's fine, but what about your job search? I didn't go for an interview today. I just stayed home looking at job websites. Parker quit his job a year ago and has been looking for work since then. Actually, he's been doing part-time jobs but doesn't keep them for long. He starts a job, quits shortly after, relaxes for a while, then looks for another part-time job. You're looking at part-time jobs again, aren't you? I'm looking at both full-time and part-time. Why don't you stop looking for part-time jobs and focus on finding a full-time position? I know, but there is a right time for everything. I wish Parker would find a steady job, but there's a reason he can't be pushed too hard. He quit his last job because of a conflict over work policies with his boss. That boss was notoriously difficult. Parker stood up to him as the office representative with his colleagues' support. But when the conflict escalated, his colleagues sided with the boss, not Parker. As a result, Parker lost his boss's approval, felt betrayed by his colleagues, and found it hard to stay, so he left the company. Parker, dinner's ready. Can you bring it here? After quitting his job, Parker became withdrawn, staying in his room. After about 2 weeks, he began to come out and help with household chores. I'll do the dishes. Really? Thanks. Then it's all yours. Yeah, I've got plenty of time. Parker joked, but his smile didn't seem genuine. Yet, another 2 weeks later, he started looking for a new job. I have an interview today. Is it your top choice? Yeah, I'm going to nail this one and make a fresh start. I'm rooting for you. Do your best. A month after quitting his job, Parker started looking for work more seriously. But even after another month, he couldn't find a job. Why do they keep rejecting me? It's all because of my last company. Don't lose heart. You'll find something good. Of course I'm frustrated. I didn't do anything wrong. Parker may not be completely blameless, but what happened at his previous job wasn't entirely his fault either. However, quitting due to interpersonal issues doesn't impress potential employers. It feels like nothing I do is right anymore. That's not true. You have an interview tomorrow. Let's update your resume. It's pointless. I'm not going to that interview. Repeated rejections took a toll on Parker, and eventually he became defiant. One day, I returned home to find torn-up resumes scattered on the living room floor, knowing his interview hadn't gone well. Carefully choosing my words, I said, "Can you throw that trash in the bin? I'm done." Done with what? Job hunting. We can manage on Layla's income, right? I don't need to work. It was true, we could get by on my salary alone. Some people choose not to work and excel as full-time homemakers, but that wasn't Parker's situation. He seemed to be avoiding reality. Understanding his reluctance after his rough experience at his last job and the fruitless job search, I decided to be patient with him for a while. Parker, you still haven't found a job. What's your plan? I've worked hard in the past. This is just a long break. I'm not just sitting around, I'm preparing for the future. That's good to hear. Living near my in-laws, Parker's mom, my Layla, and dad, Nicholas, started visiting us more after he quit his job. They were probably worried about him. When they heard Parker was preparing for his next job, they seemed relieved, but that was far from the truth. The beer's running out today. Can you grab some on your way home? It's running out again? You drink too much? Try to cut back a bit. Fine, I won't ask again. I'll get it myself. Parker wasn't studying or job hunting. He spent his days watching TV and drinking beer. He probably didn't want others to know he was unemployed. I decided not to tell my in-laws the truth to spare Parker's feelings, even though he hadn't looked for a job in over 3 months. Finally, I decided to bring it up. Parker, maybe it's time to start job hunting again. You seem more settled now. What? It's only been 6 months since my last job. You want me to work again after what happened? I just think the break has been quite long. Stop nagging. You can't understand my feelings when your job is going well. I have my own struggles, you know. Everyone faces work problems and relationship issues. We can work through this together. I understand. I'll start looking for a job, okay? Parker walked out during our conversation. My words seemed to have hurt him, but his agreement to job hunt felt like progress. I planned to apologize when he felt better. I got a job because you pushed me. That's great. Where? At a nearby supermarket. So you'll need to learn and work hard, right? It's just part-time. No need to work too hard. Part-time or not, any job is important. Do you have a problem with that? I wanted to say more to Parker, but I decided to see how even a small step like this could help him recover. I chose to wait and observe. I'm home. Parker, you're back. How's the job at the pub? I quit the supermarket part-time. Why? It hasn't been that long. A college student there was being bossy, always telling me to put the vegetable boxes at the bottom in storage. It felt like harassment. That student was probably just showing Parker how to do the job. In any workplace, even a college student might be more experienced. Parker kept finding and quitting jobs, unable to stick with any. So Parker hasn't been able to keep a job for long, and it's already been a year. Parker, what job are you doing now? I'm working part-time at a pub. I've never worked in food and beverage before, but it's interesting, and I think I finally found my calling. Really? That's great, but isn't the income from a part-time job in a restaurant kind of low? That's fine. I'm currently apprenticing, aiming to go independent. So, you plan to own your own place someday? Exactly. The income's small now, but I'm working hard towards my goal. Then take this. Treat yourself to something nice for once. Parker still puts on a good show in front of his parents, but as always, it's all lies. He quit the pub job 3 days after this conversation, deceiving everyone and even taking allowance from his parents. This time, I couldn't help but feel disappointed in my husband, so I decided to be firmer than before. Hey, Parker. Later, please. I'm at a good part in the movie. You can pause it. I grabbed the remote control from the table, paused the movie, and started a conversation. It's frustrating when you pause at the best part. What is it? Parker, you're 35 now, right? That's prime working age. Don't you think about the future? Spending all day at home, drinking, and just watching TV. The future? There are plenty of 35-year-olds not working. Many people enjoy life without a job. True, work isn't everything, but those people have something else they're dedicated to. Do you have something like that? Yeah. I know you're upset about me not working. I'll look for another part-time job. Parker seems set on only working part-time. Considering his reasons for leaving his job and his struggles with job hunting, I've been careful not to upset him. But it's time for Parker to get back on track. I need to be firmer. One day at work, I received a text from Parker. Dad's retiring, so we're going to France to celebrate starting today. I'm borrowing your platinum card. We're going to enjoy ourselves on your credit card. I panicked and called him immediately. What do you mean, a trip? Just what I said. I don't understand. Just what I said. Please explain. There are so many things wrong here. It's okay to celebrate Nicholas's retirement, but Parker should have talked to me before using my money and borrowing my credit card. More like taking without asking. And why am I paying for a trip to France that I'm not even going on? Parker probably told his parents he paid for it from his savings, my credit card. Just thinking about it makes me so angry, but one thing Parker said stands out. You mentioned borrowing a credit card. Do you mean the one from our house? Yeah, why? I do have a platinum card. Some people think you need a high income for it, but that's not true. Credit history, stable income, and other factors matter, and you can get one in your 30s. It has a high annual fee, but I use it for the benefits and points. However, that credit card is in my wallet. So you took the credit card from home? Yeah, so I'm counting on you for the payment. Parker, excited about his trip to France, spoke to me in a challenging tone. I've been patient with Parker for a long time, but now it seems like the right moment to take action. Parker thinks he's smart for taking my credit card and acting cheerful about it, but he's about to realize otherwise. What are you waiting for? We need to leave. Got it. Sorry, I have to go now. I'll hear the details when I get back. Just one more thing. That credit card you took won't work. What? That can't be right. It's under Lila's name, and it expires this month. It's close, but it shouldn't be an issue. You're lying, right, Lila? You're lying to stop me from using the card, aren't you? That's such an obvious lie. Yes, it does expire this month. That's why I've already received a new credit card. What does that mean? So I have 2 credit cards to use now. Sometimes, when a new card is activated, the old one stops working. I've already started using the new card, so the one you took won't work. What? Are you kidding me? You think I'm lying. If you don't believe me, I can send you the URL to the credit card website, or you can just try using the card. It would be funny to see you try to pay with a card that doesn't work. This credit card really won't work. Hey, hurry up. I hear his parents calling him in the background, but Parker, realizing the credit card won't work, seems too flustered to respond to them. What should I do? I told them I pay for everything except the round-trip travel. Oh, they covered the flight? Yes, Dad felt bad about covering all the trip costs. What should I do? I'm about to take a cab, and I don't even have money for that. That's not my problem. You said you would pay for everything except the flight. Using my credit card in the first place was wrong. You should pay with your own money. How can I? I don't have any money right now, Parker. You haven't been taking work seriously. It's your fault for trying to impress, taking your parents on a trip without any money. I'm at work, so I have to hang up now. I just wanted to tell you about the credit card. Wait. I hung up and returned to work. Parker, unable to pay for even the cab, would have to come clean with his parents. That evening, after I finished work, I received a call from my Leila. I heard from Parker. He tried to use your credit card and lied about working. I'm sorry for the trouble. No, don't apologize, my Leila. I'm sorry for the inconvenience with the credit card. Are you okay with the money? We'll cover the cost of this trip when we return. I'll make sure Parker apologizes and starts looking for a job immediately. I'm sorry, my Layla, but I'm considering divorcing Parker. Divorce? Because of this? It's part of it, but Parker has been taking money from me for a while. What? I stopped giving Parker money to limit his drinking. He got a part-time job and started buying his own alcohol. But his part-time salary wouldn't cover daily drinking. Parker was taking money from my wallet to buy alcohol. He repeatedly took amounts ranging from $4 to $40. Over a year, the total became significant. I hadn't been tough on Parker, hoping he would change, but when he took my credit card for his trip, it wasn't just about $42 anymore. This increase in what he took made me believe he had no intention of changing. I understand. Should I inform Parker about the divorce? Could you just tell him I want a divorce? We'll discuss the rest when he gets home. About an hour later, the next morning after my conversation with my Layla, Parker called. He must have learned about the divorce from my Layla, though I had asked her to wait until he returned to discuss it. Feeling drained, I chose not to answer his call. When I returned home from work that evening, I found Parker already there. He had cut his trip short. I'll start working seriously now. Please don't leave me, he pleaded as soon as I entered the living room. Seeing Parker, he'd immediately apologized. His remorse seemed genuine, but it came too late. He had a whole year to change, yet he was asking for another chance now. Despite my repeated warnings, he had wasted every opportunity. I'm not going to give Parker another chance because he gave up on me. My decision is final. Can you leave? Please don't say that. If you won't leave, should I move out? Only if you can afford the rent here. Parker fell silent. He didn't even have the money for next month's rent, let alone any income. My words and the reality of the impending divorce seemed to sink in for him. With nothing to take, Parker appeared to leave the house, likely heading to his parents' place. I briefly considered asking if he had money for transportation, but Parker isn't a child. He should handle his own affairs. Sadly, I watched him go. After leaving our house, Parker went to his parents' home. Later, I received a call from my Layla. They allowed Parker to stay for one night, but asked him to leave the next day. They were concerned he might become too dependent on them if he stayed longer. It must have been tough for them as parents to make this decision, but they felt it was necessary for Parker's sake. Cast out by his parents, Parker returned to our house, pleading with me. Please help me. I've got nowhere to go and no money. That's the result of your own actions. You need to handle this yourself. Everyone faces difficulties, and while it's okay to seek help sometimes, all you've done in the past year is neglect your responsibilities and do as you please. I didn't allow Parker into the house and turned him away from the doorstep. The divorce eventually went through. Parker was hesitant, but with his parents' support, it happened faster than expected. I'm not sure what happened to Parker afterward, but he's likely still moving from job to job and making excuses. I thought I would feel lonely without Parker, but I didn't. His attitude had been stressful, and I was always careful not to upset him. No longer needing to accommodate him, I've been living more comfortably. Unconsciously, our life together was a burden. I'm relieved I didn't let myself get dragged down with him. Now, I can live without having to cater to anyone else.
It was a calm evening at home until the phone rang and changed everything. Marcus and I were having dinner, salmon and roasted potatoes I cooked, when his phone started buzzing. He looked at the screen and froze. "Who's calling?" I asked. "It's Selena," he said with a serious look. Selena, his 19-year-old daughter from his troubled first marriage, whom he hadn't spoken to in years. My heart sank. This couldn't be good. Marcus answered the call, and I watched his face closely as he listened, his expression showing worry. After a short conversation, he hung up and let out a deep sigh. "What did she want?" I asked, preparing myself. "She's coming to live with us. Her roommate kicked her out, so she's driving here tomorrow." I dropped my fork, suddenly losing my appetite. "Here? How long?" "She didn't say, but it seems like she's planning to stay for a while," Marcus replied. Panic gripped me. We had worked so hard to create a stable life together. Both of us came from broken families filled with lies and betrayals. It took years of therapy and trust building to heal those wounds. The last thing we needed was a troubled 19-year-old causing more chaos. "Can't her mom take her?" I suggested. Marcus shook his head. You know how bad things are between them since the divorce. Before I could protest further, we heard the front door open. Our 16-year-old son, Eli, came in from basketball practice, his sweaty hair damp. "Hey, Mom, Dad, what's going on?" he asked, sensing the tension in the room. Marcus managed a weary smile. "We just heard from your sister Selena. She's going to be staying with us for a while." Eli looked surprised. He knew little about Selena beyond the few difficult stories Marcus had shared over the years. Okay, Eli said cautiously. "How long is she going to be here?" "We're not sure yet," Marcus admitted. A tense silence settled over the room, and I could sense the worry spinning through Ellie's mind. Selena's sudden arrival threatened the stability he cherished, but he was too compassionate to voice his concerns. I reached out and squeezed his hand reassuringly before turning to Marcus with determination. "We need to establish clear rules," I insisted. "No taking advantage or expecting a free ride. If she stays here, she has to find a job and contribute." Marcus agreed. "You're right. I'll make sure she understands that when she gets here." As we tidied up after dinner, I couldn't shake the feeling that Selena's return wouldn't bring anything positive. The past has a way of resurfacing, no matter how tightly you try to seal it away. The next morning I woke with a sense of unease. Today was the day Selena would arrive. Marcus had prepared the small guest room for her, though I doubted she'd be pleased with the cramped space. During breakfast, Marcus attempted to reassure Eli. "Don't worry, I'm sure Selena has matured a lot since I last saw her. Let's try to make her feel welcome." Eli nodded, but his apprehension was clear. Around noon, the sound of a car pulling up outside caught our attention. "That must be her," Marcus announced. My heart raced as we approached the front door. A blonde girl emerged from a worn-out hatchback packed with clothes and boxes. She looked nothing like the withdrawn, skinny 13-year-old I remembered from years ago during the divorce hearings. She had grown tall and attractive, dressed in trendy clothes with skillfully applied makeup. However, her bright smile didn't seem to reach her eyes. Marcus greeted her with an awkward hug. "Welcome home, Selena." "Thanks, Daddy," she replied sweetly, though she hadn't made an effort to stay in touch since the divorce. "It's great to see you again." Over the next hour, Selena brought in her belongings, stacking them in the small guest room. Despite the limited space, she refused Marcus's offers to help, sharply instructing him not to touch her things. So much for her growing up, I thought to myself. During dinner, Selena dominated the conversation, talking mostly about herself and subtly making jabs at me. "I can't believe you're still working as a nurse, Lena. Wouldn't you rather do something more interesting?" I held back my response. Nursing was my passion, but Selena clearly didn't respect it. When Eli shared his plans to apply for college scholarships, Selena scoffed. "Good luck getting enough money to go to a decent school." Eli looked hurt. I knew how much effort he had put into maintaining his straight A's and excelling in sports. After dinner, I pulled Marcus aside. "We need to establish some rules for Selena," I insisted. "We can't tolerate this entitled behavior." He sighed. "You're right. I'll talk to her." But in the following days, nothing changed. Selena continued to behave disrespectfully, refusing to find a job or help with anything around the house. My patience wore thin. Then came the breaking point. One evening after work, I returned home to find Selena gone and Eli sitting alone, looking pale. "What's wrong?" I asked him. My heart sank as Eli revealed what had happened. Selena had stolen his laptop and emptied his money jar, which held over $500 he had saved from his job. Eli looked devastated. Anger surged through me. That money represented years of Ellie's hard work and dedication. When Selena finally returned, I confronted her. "Give back Ellie's money and his laptop right now," I demanded. She smirked dismissively. "Or what? You'll kick me out." I wanted to react impulsively, but I knew violence wouldn't solve anything. Selena's toxic behavior was tearing apart our family, and I knew I had to protect us, even if it meant making a difficult decision about Marcus's daughter. Right then, I resolved that Selena had to leave. When Marcus arrived home, I wasted no time in telling him what Selena had done. She stole from her own brother after we welcomed her into our home. "I want her out, Marcus. Today," I insisted firmly. Marcus looked torn. "I know Selena's actions are unacceptable, but she's still my daughter. If we kick her out now, she'll have nowhere to go. So we just let her keep taking advantage of us," I exclaimed. "She's manipulating you, Marcus. Can't you see that?" "Please give me a little more time to talk to her," Marcus pleaded. "I believe with some clear boundaries, Selena can change." I sighed in frustration. Marcus's paternal instincts were clouding his judgment about Selena's behavior, but I knew I had to handle this delicately to avoid straining our marriage. "Okay," I relented. 1 week. If Selena's behavior doesn't show significant improvement by then, she has to leave. Marcus reluctantly agreed to give Selena more time, hoping against hope that she would change. But my hopes were quickly dashed as Selena's behavior spiraled out of control over the next few days. She stayed out all night partying, slept until noon, and even helped herself to my jewelry, dismissing my demands for her to find a job with arrogant remarks about living rent-free. Things reached a breaking point one evening when I found her smoking on the couch. When I confronted her, she brazenly blew smoke in my face and defied me, claiming I had no authority over her. I felt sickened by Selena's manipulative behavior. She knew exactly how to push my buttons while putting on a sweet act for Marcus. But the final straw came when I received a call from my credit card company about a suspicious $2,000 charge at a luxury store in Leh. It was clear Selena had used my card without permission, racking up more debt in a week than Eli and I spent on groceries in a month. When Marcus returned home, I couldn't contain my rage any longer. "Your daughter is tearing us apart. I want her out of this house tonight," I demanded, trembling with anger. Marcus looked worn down. "You're right. I wanted to believe Selena could change, but she's completely out of control. It's either her or me, Marcus," I stated firmly. "Choose carefully." He pulled me into a comforting hug. "You and Eli will always come first. I just hope we can get through this without tearing our family apart." We gathered with Selena, and Marcus firmly told her she had to leave immediately. She exploded in anger, hurling insults and accusations. I remained quiet, letting Marcus handle his distraught daughter. When Selena stormed off to pack, Marcus slumped in defeat. "I'm so sorry I brought this chaos into our home," he lamented. "You and Eli mean everything to me. No matter how long it takes, we'll heal from Selena's influence." I squeezed his hand, finding solace in his resolve. With unity, we would overcome this trial. Selena's destructive behavior wouldn't break our family. The weeks following Selena's departure were tense. Marcus attempted to reach out to her multiple times, but she refused to respond. I knew he wrestled with guilt, blaming himself for her actions. I reassured him we had made the right decision. Selena had wreaked havoc like a tornado. We changed the locks and dealt with the fallout from my stolen credit card, thankfully resolved with the bank's support in reversing the fraudulent charges. Gradually, our lives returned to normalcy. My heart sank as I opened the letter, shattering the fragile peace we had started to rebuild. It was from a bank I didn't recognize, thanking me for opening a new credit account. Panic set in as I read through the attached paperwork. Someone had fraudulently applied for a $155,000 personal loan in my name, forging my signature, money that had already been deposited into an unknown account. The implications were staggering. This amount of debt could devastate our family, and there was only one person I suspected could do such a thing. When Marcus returned home, I thrust the letter into his hands. "Your daughter is trying to ruin us. We need to call the police right away." His eyes widened in shock as he scanned the letter. My God, I knew Selena had issues, but identity theft? He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "This is all my fault. I failed her as a father." My anger towards Selena began to soften as I saw how deeply Marcus was affected by her betrayal. Sitting beside him, I placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did everything you could for her in such difficult circumstances. Some people just refuse to change. Now we have to focus on protecting ourselves and Eli. Will you call the police to report the fraud?" Marcus sighed heavily but nodded. "You're right. I need to do the responsible thing, no matter how painful." We spent an agonizing hour on the phone with the police and the bank, filing reports about Selena's crime. It was surreal to think that the sweet girl I had seen in Marcus's wedding photos could turn into such a heartless criminal. The bank investigator informed us that the loan had been taken out locally, suggesting Selena was still nearby. The thought sent chills down my spine. That night, as we lay in bed, I turned to Marcus. "We'll work with the bank to invalidate that loan. They believe we're the victims in this." "I hope you're right," Marcus murmured, his voice heavy with worry. "Because if not, this could ruin us financially. We might even lose the house." The unspoken fear hung thick between us. Selena wasn't satisfied with just tarnishing her father's trust. She seemed determined to dismantle our entire family, no matter the cost. As I finally drifted off to sleep, I repeated a silent mantra. Selena's schemes couldn't touch us, no matter how hard she tried. Goodness and truth would prevail, but beneath the surface a cold anger simmered. If Selena continued to threaten my loved ones, I was prepared to do whatever it took to stop her. In the following weeks there was no word from Selena. The bank's investigation into the fraudulent loan bought us some time before any debts were due. Police attempts to locate her proved fruitless. Selena had vanished without a trace, leaving Marcus to comb through online records in a desperate search for clues. It was clear she knew how to evade capture, an adept manipulator and elusive figure. Then on a sunny Saturday, our world shifted once more. Marcus was away at a teaching conference for the weekend, so Eli and I decided to catch a movie together. But upon returning home, a sense of dread washed over me immediately. The front door stood open, Heart pounding, I hurried inside, Eli right beside me. "Wait in the hall," I instructed Eli firmly. If Selena was inside, I wanted to shield him from any danger. Moving cautiously, I entered the dimly lit rooms. At first glance, nothing appeared out of place. Then I reached Ellie's bedroom. The sight was devastating. Drawers thrown open, mattress overturned, and the closet in disarray. Eli rushed in beside me, gasping in disbelief. That's when I noticed the paper on his bed, scrawled with a mocking message. "College fund gone. Oops, better start bussing tables, loser brother." Anger surged through me, blurring my vision. The college fund Marcus and I had painstakingly saved for Ellie's future, nearly $20,000, was stolen. Selena had callously used it for her own needs while leaving hurtful insults for her brother, whom she had never bothered to know. I heard a choked sob from Eli, his face drained of color, tears welling in his eyes. "All the money you saved up for me, gone." I hugged my kind, hard-working son, feeling heartbroken for him. "We'll find a way through this," I promised, but inside, I was furious. That money was meant to help Eli have a better life, but Selena had taken it all away without any care. When Marcus came home, he was devastated by the break-in and Ellie's loss. My usually calm husband was furious, just like me. Our savings were gone, our home broken into, and our son hurt for no reason. It was too much. Selena needed to face consequences before she hurt more innocent people. The next evening, ignoring Marcus's warnings, I drove to the old motel where people said Selena was staying. I found her beat-up car parked outside. I knocked on her door until she opened it, smirking when she saw me. "Well, if it isn't Saint Lena, here to lecture me about morals." I slapped her hard across the face. "You're a terrible person," I said angrily. "Didn't ruining our lives once satisfy you?" Selena's smirk disappeared. "You'll pay for that," she snapped, trying to attack me. We struggled briefly before I pushed her back inside and slammed the door in her angry face. I walked away, shaking but determined. Today, Selena's reign of terror ended one way or another. I had given her chances to change, but some people are rotten to the core beyond redemption. Trying to save them risks dragging yourself down too. Selena had shown herself to be heartless and incapable of doing any good. Now it was time to cut her out of our lives for good before she could hurt us again. In the weeks that followed, I nervously waited for Selena's revenge. Marcus tightened security around our house. I kept Eli home from school, afraid to leave him alone until Selena was caught. But as time went on without any sign of her, we started to relax. Maybe she had realized she couldn't stay in town without facing consequences for what she'd done. Late one night, I woke up to blaring fire alarms. Marcus and I rushed to Ellie's room and found it filled with smoke, flames climbing up one wall. We grabbed Eli and hurried outside just before the fire consumed his bedroom. While firefighters put out the blaze, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was no accident. Selena had made a final desperate move for revenge. The police investigation confirmed my suspicions. Traces of gasoline had been found on one side of the house, deliberately set alight. It was a chilling realization that Selena had intended to destroy us as we slept, if not for our timely awakening. Marcus looked exhausted as he spoke to the investigators. "Our daughter, Selena Rogers, is your prime suspect for arson. She's already committed identity theft and burglary against us. This fire was her latest attempt to harm my family." After discovering Selena was committing more serious crimes, the police finally took action. They got security camera footage showing someone in Selena's car leaving the area just before firefighters arrived. Arrest warrants were issued for Selena, and her name and photo were shown in the news as a dangerous criminal. Marcus even asked Selena to surrender, promising she'd get a fair trial. But Selena stayed hidden, leaving us stuck in uncertainty, fearing she might strike again. I stayed indoors with Eli, keeping a rifle and fire extinguishers close by. She had already taken so much from us, I wouldn't let her take our peace of mind too. Then one evening I got a surprise call from the detective leading the case, urgently telling me, "You need to check the news now. They just caught Selena Rogers." I rushed Marcus and Eli to the TV, our hands shaking. The news showed Selena in handcuffs outside a pawn shop, stolen things from our house scattered around her, jewelry and electronics. She cursed and spat at reporters while police put her in a car. Selena had thought she couldn't be caught, but she slipped up and got caught red-handed. Reporters talked about Selena's shocking crimes against her own family. Her reputation was ruined, and everyone saw the real monster behind her pretty face. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. That night, with Selena locked up and our home safe, we finally slept peacefully. The coming weeks would be hard, cleaning up the mess Selena made, but the worst was over. Her lies couldn't hurt us anymore. A new day had come, full of hope and promise. In the weeks after Selena was arrested, life slowly returned to normal. With Selena facing serious charges in jail, the heaviness that had burdened our home began to lift. I took Ely out to celebrate his birthday at his favorite restaurants, and Marcus and I spent evenings reminiscing about happier times before Selena came into our lives. We started making plans to repair the fire damage and recover financially. But looming court dates brought anxiety. Marcus struggled with the thought of testifying against his own daughter, despite their strained relationship. I tried to stay strong, reminding myself of the pain Selena had caused us. Then came shocking news. Selena had been involved in a violent fight with another inmate in jail and had died as a result. Marcus was devastated. He withdrew into our room for days, grappling with guilt. Meanwhile, I focused on supporting Ely, who, despite everything, felt saddened by the loss of a sister he barely knew. In the following weeks, we learned disturbing details about Selena's final days. The inmate she fought with claimed Selena had boasted about how she enjoyed deceiving people and wished she had stolen even more from us. Hearing Selena's callous words only hardened my resolve. She had shown no remorse for the pain she caused. In the end, her own greed and aggression had led to her downfall. With Selena no longer around, her case quickly fell apart. The bank canceled her fake loan applications, lifting that heavy debt off our shoulders. The police recovered some of our stolen money from her places. Meanwhile, our community rallied behind us once Selena's crimes came to light, offering sympathy and raising funds to help Ely with his college tuition. Their kindness overwhelmed me. After being trapped in Selena's lies and isolation, the support of true friends felt like escaping a nightmare. Marcus felt it too. We weren't alone. Good people could stand against evil together. On the anniversary of Selena's passing, we visited her grave for the first and only time. Marcus knelt beside her simple gravestone, quietly saying a prayer. I stood with Ely, giving them space. She wasn't always like this, Ely said softly. Do you think if she had made different choices, she could have found happiness? I held my wise son close, embracing his insight. Everyone chooses their own path. Selena's led to destruction, but we're moving forward now, into the light. Marcus joined us, his demeanor finally calm. He took my hand with a gentle smile. Thank you for staying by my side, he said. Your love guided me through the darkness. Together we walked away from Selena's troubled legacy toward a future full of promise. In the months following Selena's passing, our family began to heal. We repaired the fire damage, recovered stolen money, and settled debts. Slowly we reclaimed what Selena had tried to take from us. Yet some wounds ran deeper. I woke from nightmares of fire consuming our home. Marcus withdrew into solitude, wrestling with guilt, while Ely grew more reserved, startled by every sound and keeping his door locked. That's when I suggested we start seeing a family counselor. Initially, Marcus hesitated, feeling ashamed about needing help. But eventually he agreed that it was essential for us to heal fully. Our counseling sessions became a source of profound release. We discussed feelings of betrayal, violation, and anger. The counselor taught us techniques to manage anxiety and PTSD, encouraging us to express our emotions rather than keeping them inside, which had strained my relationship with Marcus, who tended to brood. Through these sessions, I discovered depths of pain in Marcus that I had not fully understood before. He confessed that part of his desperate attempts to help Selena stemmed from regret over his perceived failures as a father during his divorce. The counselor helped him see that his intentions were misguided rather than malicious, easing his sense of shame. For Ale, the most comfort came from returning to normal routines. He rejoined school sports teams, volunteered at a homeless shelter, and started working part-time at an ice cream parlor. Focusing on these activities and engaging with the community helped him feel more empowered and less helpless. 6 months later, with our counselor's blessing, we decided to put our troubles with Selena behind us. Using the last of the recovered money, we took a family trip to Hawaii. We enjoyed stunning beaches and delicious dinners, free from tension or drama, just cherishing our time together. On our last night, Marcus and I renewed our vows on the beach at sunset, with Eli proudly officiating. Looking at my two incredible men, my heart swelled with love and pride. Selena had tried to tear us apart, but instead, we emerged stronger. While scars remain, we wear them proudly, refusing to let past pain define us. Our family embodies resilience. During the flight home, I wrote a journal entry reflecting on our journey, which I later shared with Marcus and Eli. The past year brought immense challenges but also profound growth. We've grown closer, our wounds turning into wisdom. Selena's actions reopened old wounds and inflicted new ones, but we've stitched ourselves together, becoming stronger. Our imperfect family doesn't just survive, we thrive. Darkness fades, healing begins, and the enduring light remains. Later that week, I stored my journal in a keepsake box. The last remnants of Selena's havoc, court documents, financial statements, police reports, were discarded. Marcus held me close, saying, "It's finally over. Now we can build something beautiful from the ashes." I smiled at him and embraced Eli. The storm had passed. Ahead of us stretched a bright future, and together we would walk forward, facing the light.